Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Next page in the book is real football. That's the next page in the book, guys.
Thank God.
Bull's been screaming for the last hour.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, Bull, what do you think about preseason?
It sucks.
Does it
It's
count?
useless. It's meaningless. And every year, these idiots in the media. Yes, my fellow media members, they're idiots. They overhype. Oh, they're analyzing. Every time I listen to something on the radio and we're making judgments based on the preseason, I immediately shut it off. And you should all do the same thing. People are idiots.
Well, your mistake was turning it on in the first place.
That's true.
Actually, I'll say.
Fair.
Well, welcome to the program, by the way. Welcome to another week. Brad's in the hot seat. Jay Lloyd is here. You've been in the media your whole life.
Yeah.
I don't think you put more stock in the preseason than what I don't.
No.
I look at it for what it is, glorified practice.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens haven't lost a preseason game in forever, and we celebrate that. The Browns went 4-0, and they threw a parade.
Sure.
The 1 year. And they didn't win a game in the regular season.
Right.
Yeah,
I
how'd that
believe
work
the
out?
Rams went winless in the preseason last year, if I remember correctly.
The only thing, I think the one mistake that I think we watched in real time was Stefanski not playing the core group of his Pro Bowl caliber starters one down. I think that was a mistake. Not necessarily, you're not playing to win these games. You're playing to get ready for the meaningful game.
Right. And I, to your point is exactly taken correctly, because I can't understand for the life of me how you don't put some people out there just to get them going, right? And it's hard to sit back and say, all right, I'm gonna hold all my quarterbacks out. I'm gonna hold my first teamers out, and I'm looking across the league. People are finding a way to put their guys in just for a bit.
Steelers played their starters the entire first half yesterday.
They did,
And-
but
and-
the Bengals haven't either. It depends on the coach.
But I sit here and I get the other side of it and say, listen, trying to injury prevention, but I have to get people prepared to play here. Because we're going basically in 2 weeks from 0 to 100 now.
That's exactly right.
0 to 100, and
Yeah.
I'm always worried about it. And I'd say this, I don't look at the preseason games for the results. It's my time to do an analysis on my personnel to see exactly what they have.
And also, you want to develop chemistry.
Right, well,
Because particularly when you have a new quarterback and a new wide receiver that have never taken meaningful snaps together, we haven't seen Cooper and Brissett one play together.
Listen, every coach has got their own philosophy. I do like the idea of some guys playing at least a tiny bit. But ultimately, I don't know. Has there been a study done to show whether the guys play more or less in the preseason?
No, I doubt it.
And since they've changed the rules.
Because you don't know what they're playing against.
Right, that's right.
So that's the variable in the experience.
Right, and listen, the preseason has its value to the team. It's just not, there's no value to us in being able to analyze
What we
the
shouldn't
team.
do is look at results and say, oh boy, here we go. Now, there were parts of what I saw Saturday that troubled me. That I don't think the back end of our defense should look like they don't know where they are.
I don't even think you get back to the defense. You have a hole in the middle of the line here.
The
That's
interior,
that's
the interior
a
line.
freaking problem.
But so what I do is, so I think our running backs room and our defensive backs are the cream of our crop. Wouldn't you say?
Fair.
I was stunned at the play of the back of our defense. Now, I know that Ward's not in there, and I know Newsom's not in there, but there are some guys in there that they're going to rely and count on heavily this year. And it was a little head-scratching to me that guys were that wide open.
Well, I think that when you have two lockdown corners in it tightens you up a significant
absolutely.
amount. So I can't say I like what I see in the back.
But there was miscommunication. That's what troubled me the most. There were guys that
Greedy Williams looks bad. The way he got sauced up the other day, I was like, wait a minute. Now,
that's not supposed to happen.
That's a basic shakedown and you got shook down.
Are you worried at all about that, Bull?
Zero. I'm not worried about it at all. No, because my two best cornerbacks didn't play.
Sure.
Ultimately, that's it.
But those that did play.
But here's the thing.
Was there anything troubling in there?
I mean, but, some of the – I get it. They did start some of their players, right? Grant Delpit got hurt. He played a little bit before that. John Johnson was out there for a little while. Greedy Williams, you mentioned. No, it doesn't worry me, because when you're preparing for these preseason games, it is just a glorified practice. There's no game plan. There's no prepping for the other team or watching film on the other team. And so that's why I can't read anything into it. I guess, if I see some guy show great speed or a kicker make a kick or whatever, okay, I could read something into that. But ultimately, the third and fourth cornerbacks being asked to do what the first. I mean, it could. If you want to say, well, I'm going to be uncomfortable if my top 2 cornerbacks get hurt because of what I saw. Okay,
and that's a real
I'd be
problem
uncomfortable
with this team,
either way.
Yeah.
I mean, most teams are going to be uncomfortable if their top 2 corners get hurt.
Jason, did you see anything that would raise a red flag back there for you?
No, the thing that I kind of watched was Togiai and Winfrey getting 0 push in the middle. 0 push.
Yeah, I know.
But when you're looking on the back end, when you're missing Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, and Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, I don't think there's much you can read into it. And I thought Tyvis had a great point last week when he was talking about the play where Josh Rosen beat him over the top for a touchdown. And he was watching, I forget now how the progressions that he went through. He was watching the safety. If one guy went that way, he was supposed to go that way.
Right.
And I think when you're out there with guys who you don't play a lot with, who aren't going to be on the field when the games matter, it can impact the guys who are out there.
Yeah, especially to the units that work together, the offensive line, the defensive backfield. Let's focus on the interior of the defensive line.
But even that, I mean, yes, we knew going in that the interior defensive line was a concern. They haven't stood out in any way in the preseason. I get it, and it's easy to panic.
I think they stood out in a bad way.
Well,
these guys are going to play.
That's true, but it's going to be a little easier for them when Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney are playing.
It will be, but on running plays.
I think that's bad. I think the defensive interior frees up Clowney and Garrett, right? I don't think Garrett and Clowney, they do, but they don't. You got to get me somebody that has a push, right? There has to be a concern that there's somebody in the middle that has to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing the other way, we're getting pushed back. Togiai's making a tackle downfield. I'm like, where are we at up front here?
Yeah.
We have a problem here that has to be addressed. And I know that if you've been in this business, that you should know that.
To Bull's point,
I mean, their starting tailback averaged 3 yards per carry. It wasn't like he had a good game, David Montgomery.
But to Bull's point, I don't think you can put a lot in the preseason. But I look at guys like Tommy Togiai and Winfrey, guys who have never done anything in the league. It is important to them, and I think they do need to put good plays on tape. And
What
I'm
about
not sure
Perry
we
on
saw a lot of
Winfrey,
them.
too? I mean, we've seen enough of him. I had so much hope and expectations for him.
He's a good talker.
He's a great talker, but guys, I haven't
People
seen
got
his
carried
game
away because
elevate.
of that. His
Sure,
game hasn't been impressive.
He was what?
But we
round
got to
pick was
see
he?
him play in the
He was
regular
later,
season.
fifth,
He was a
sixth,
late
fourth.
pick. I mean, how much could you have expected?
Right. And hopefully he can grow into that role.
Our expectations were ramped up with this
Because
video.
of the talk, yes, no doubt.
We in Cleveland should be immune to that by now.
And by the way, about your boy Cade York, listen, I think he's going to be really good. In all seriousness, but we got to take it down a notch. I don't care that he's making 70-yard field goals in practice. I want him making kicks in the game, and he has missed 2 kicks.
I'll tell you why that's important. He's missed a 58-yarder and a 55-yarder.
Got to make those. In this division, you got to make those. That's why we drafted him.
I'm with you. Yeah, you're not going to make every kick.
No, he's got to make 2/3 of those kicks.
Last week when I was on the show, you had commented he's got to make every kick. He's got to make every kick.
Yes.
So I talked to Jay Feely about that. Like, do you want to make every kick? He said, the kickers are doing things in the preseason too. He said guys used to aim at uprights. Can you imagine? I mean, you're talking about something that's that big.
Yeah.
He said guys used to aim at uprights or try to put it 6 inches inside an upright. And he said one of the things he always did was he tried to shrink the uprights.
It's like a golf
He would always, exactly.
like
and Jay's
golf
a
shot.
tremendous golfer.
Like a golf
he would
shot.
always look at it as a fairway. I could be okay if I'm on the edge.
Right.
I want to be in the middle. So guys, a lot of time in the preseason are working on things we don't even know about.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying he's got to make kicks in the regular season. That's all that matters.
He does.
Not that he hits a 70-yarder in practice.
Here's why folks get excited about 70 yards, okay?
Yeah.
Most guys can't even think of that.
I've never seen a 70-yard kick.
I haven't seen a 70-yarder
Even
ever.
in warm-ups.
He's going to be really good.
Even in warm-ups.
He's
So
going to
here's
be
the
really
thing.
good.
It's an NFL record for a reason. Now, I don't really care that he made it in practice or whatever. Here's what I care about. He has the leg to get it there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so here's what that
an
does.
option.
You're late in the game. You're down by 1 or 2. You now don't need to get to the 35-yard line. You need to get to about the 48-yard line.
The one thing I want
To realistically,
Wow.
65 and
The one-
no, but listen,
the one thing I
if
want-
there's
yourself a
1
chance.
second left,
Right.
and you've got
You
a
could at
Hail
least
Mary
try it.
opportunity,
You could
or
at
you
least
got a
try it.
shot for a 65-yarder,
Jay-
you've got the kicker that can get the ball there, and you can't make it. It's like a putt. It can't go in if it doesn't get to the hole.
Jay, the thing that I think is going to be very good. I think
Right.
he's shown that, and so I will say I don't care if you're missing a 58-yarder, 55-yarder. I mean, you're in the game here.
Sure.
Right?
No, I do care. That's all that matters. Make your kicks in the games that matter.
The one thing that we have to
And we
learn-
start judging him in 2 weeks, like
Yes.
everybody else.
The one
Absolutely.
thing that we have to learn here is just simply this, right? He has to get used to kicking down at the lakefront.
You aren't kidding.
You
aren't kidding.
That is the neutralizer.
You could tell on the ball on the 58-yarder
Yes,
that he
you
missed.
could.
you can see the late movement in it, and that's what is always so tricky, and that's what takes kickers sometimes years to figure out. Phil Dawson had the luxury of working there for so long that he learned something every time he kicked there.
Right.
It will definitely be a work in progress. Cade York's going to miss kicks. He's going to miss kicks that he should make.
This will not be
all kickers do.
This will not be the Bayou. This is not Baton Rouge.
No. It's going to be difficult, particularly late when the winds are swirling and it's colder and the ball doesn't travel as well. I haven't seen anything.
But I like what I see.
Yeah, I agree.
I like what I see.
Let's talk briefly about Jacoby Brissett. We'll come back to him with Joe and with Tim.
The reaction.
But
Jay,
go ahead,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. The reaction was absurd.
I thought it was
on my
overdue, too.
timeline.
Yeah.
We know what Jacoby Brissett is. How do we not get this? Yeah. Jacoby Brissett didn't just join the league last year. We know he's a below-average quarterback.
Right.
He's never been great. He's never going to be great. That doesn't mean he couldn't have a good game or two. But he's been in the league long enough that we know exactly what he is.
I think the reason
he's an offensive manager.
But now the franchise is on his shoulders now.
I would-
Like it or not,
they've
the next
got to
11
carry
games,
him.
he's
He
pulling
can't
the
carry
wagon.
them.
Well, the quarterback pulls the wagon. It doesn't go the other way around.
I do not agree that. First of all, I agree with you that we know what he is.
Yes.
I will not agree that he's a below-average quarterback. He's just a manager of this, right? And here,
Do you have him
is below average.
Yeah, do you have him as top 16 in the NFL?
I don't need him to be in the top 6.
No, he's not, though. He is a below. Bull's right.
I need him to manage the game.
You do.
I've got horses here.
Yes.
What I saw was he got the ball out of his hand. He wasn't sitting here trying to make crazy plays like Mayfield, right?
Yeah.
I got these horses. I'm depending on the horses behind me now. And could he get the ball out? Did he find Bell across the top? Was he threading the needle in here? Was he afraid?
Well, most of them were very short, quick passes.
But he was not afraid.
No. No, well, I wouldn't expect him to be. He's got his.
Yeah.
This isn't his first.
By the
rodeo.
way, as much as everybody wants to crap on Anthony Schwartz, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
That long pass Brissett threw to him, that was almost an impossible play to make.
Yeah.
I can't blame him for that one. That was ridiculous.
I don't think there are other things to blame him for.
Sure,
we will
plenty,
come back to Anthony Schwartz.
but-
There's a lot on that bone.
Yes. Yeah.
And we'll chew on that later.
I
but
saw a quarterback who failed to elude the rush, who's not fast enough to elude.
that was my
pressure.
concern. I was like, wow, he's slow-footed.
I saw an offense that looked awful lot like last year. It took him a minute and a half to go 30 yards. I'm like, I've seen this before. You can't do that in the NFL. They had and I think it did end in points. And they had 3.5 minutes, and it took them a minute and a half to go 30 yards. And I'm like,
well, you tell me that after you put Chubb and Hunt in the backfield.
I mean,
well, in that situation, I don't know how much you're going to use those guys.
No,
if you're looking to throw the ball downfield.
My game plan is differently deployed when I have them behind me.
but there are points in games when you have to go, and you need you need chunk plays in a short amount of time.
Question.
And I don't see it in this offense.
And so I'm glad you brought that up because that was something I wanted to drill down on today because as I was watching, I know that a lot of coaches, they go out there with 6 or 7 plays. They're not showing everything.
Right.
But I got to tell you, I had your thought exactly. My thought was, is it 2021 again? Because just the play calling, the lack of any real urgency, it was a little bit troubling. I'm going to give points for the fact that it was the preseason, but what better time to work on that? This is your last chance.
Right.
It's your last dress rehearsal. And I was glad that they were in that situation because I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's see what we got now because he's going to be in this spot. And it just felt like last year.
Stefanski becoming a cliche. I mean, he got these quote statements. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to show anything. Everything is bland. I'm like, show me something. Give me something.
They were without all their stars. I mean, by the time they had that 2-minute drill, they were down. They didn't start 2 of their starting offensive linemen, and then what's his name got hurt. Wyatt
They were down
Teller,
21-0 at that point.
You didn't have your 2 top backs, and you didn't play with Amari Cooper. Now we can criticize them for doing that, but that's still the fact.
You know,
we knew Jacoby Brissett's never been fleet of foot. I mean,
if you were an NFL head coach, because there's varying philosophies. And it was interesting as I was watching the Steelers yesterday and I saw T.J. Watt limp off the field. I'm like, whoa, Stefanski looks like a genius.
Got hurt.
Deontay Johnson got hurt.
I saw that too.
But you know what? The folks that I was watching with made a great point. If you're going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. It doesn't matter if it's the preseason or the regular season. You can't put these guys in glass cases. And fortunately for the Steelers, T.J. Watt's injury doesn't appear to be serious, nor does Johnson's. But if you're an NFL head coach, are you more Tomlin or are you more Stefanski?
I don't think it matters which camp you're in. Andy Reid's had a ton of success playing guys.
Sure.
And Sean McVay didn't play anyone. The point that I would make is Kevin Stefanski had these guys ready to go week 1 last year at Kansas City, doing it his way. Now, his first game at Baltimore was a disaster 2 years ago. That was a complete meltdown. It was his first game as a head coach. coming off COVID and everything else.
Okay,
whatever.
Let me interrupt you quickly. The only difference being this year is that we haven't seen these guys play together.
It's a
new
new
quarterback, new lead wide receiver,
Right.
and the core of wide receivers. That's completely different.
Don't even get me going on that, because if it was anything that was apparent on Saturday, they are wide receivers short.
Yeah,
yes,
more
they
than
are.
one, I think.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
You can go back and get all these other dudes, these dudes you found on the street for anywhere. We need another receiver here in a major way.
But it's not like Jacoby Brissett and these receivers have had no reps together. We just haven't seen them.
No, they played.
Right. They've had
in practice. They've had
practice reps.
The only thing is, when you're going, I know they had the Eagles with the joint practices, but for the most part, when you're going against your own defense, they know the tendencies.
Yeah.
They know where the throw is coming. They know all of that stuff. It is so different when you're going up against a defense that's hostile, that wants to get you, that wants to hurt you, that wants to bring you to the ground. So, I don't know. I think I'm somewhere in the middle between Stefanski and
Amari
Tomlin.
Cooper and Jacoby Brissett are veterans. They've been in the league a while.
Yeah.
If they were young players, I'd be leaning more towards playing them.
Bull, do you put any weight in this the chemistry? You always hear about guys say, star quarterback and star receiver worked out 12 different times in the offseason. That's why their timing is impeccable.
Yeah.
But
they are doing all that, right?
No, they are, but I'm talking about in the offseason. You'll hear quarterback and wide receivers get together and just work. And not like for a weekend in the Bahamas, because there's a lot of other things that go on that take your focus away from football. I'm talking about if they live near each other, or even if they don't, they get together 4 or 5 times during the offseason, 2 or 3 times during that week, and they just work, running routes, getting to know the speed of the football, the angle of the football, everything.
You get to know your personnel, not just know your personnel. You're in sync with them, right? So so that way, I know when to cover you. I know what your tendencies are.
Brad, you in basketball, you oftentimes, if you were traded, you fall into a new offense. What is that like? And I know that a lot of basketball is freelance, and you're going off reactions and everything else. But am I making more of this idea of chemistry is built through reps?
Yeah.
Or can you be traded in a basketball world, step on the floor, and just sort of get the feel right away?
No, I think that basketball is basketball. The game is the game, but it is me learning you. Like there's something in sync with you that I'm going to learn that may be different from where I just came from.
Right.
Right. And so until I get that, then I know what I can expect from you, what you can expect from me, and then there's a reaction that just takes place. It's organic. Like, I know what I need to do. You're going to gamble on defense, right? And when you get by, I'm going to clean it up on the backside. Right.
And there's some of that in football too.
Sure.
Especially when the pocket breaks down. This is where I think it's invaluable to get reps in the preseason. When the pocket breaks down and now everybody's playing scramble football.
Right.
Where's my guy like to go? Does he like to come back to the line of scrimmage?
Right.
Does he like to go into the middle of the field?
Well, that was something. I mean, you think about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase last year, right? They had played together in college,
and it showed.
And they had that feel for each other there. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I got to say though, I'm not. You guys, I feel like everybody here has been so panicked about the Browns' wide receiving room, and maybe a month into the season, you will be vindicated and you will be right.
Right.
I'm not saying I think it's awesome and that I'm completely comfortable with it. I'm saying we've got to see more. Like, Anthony Schwartz aside, like Amari Cooper, while not an elite one, is a good solid number 1 wide receiver, right? He's a good player. David Bell is a rookie. He's barely played.
I do
right?
like what I've seen of David Bell.
If he ends up being a good wide receiver, I'm not even saying a number 1, just a good wide receiver.
Sure.
Which rookie wide receivers are more often, these days making an impact right away.
They are.
Then I think they're fine. I think the concern is, do they have a number 2 wide receiver? I think their hope is David Bell will be it. We don't know yet. Now, again, a couple weeks in, we might look at David Bell. He's doing nothing. We're like, my God.
This is what
I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is a 3 is completely fine.
You know what? I think
what
that Njoku's going to be the 2. I really do.
I'm concerned about this. There's nobody to stretch the field here, right?
It's supposed to be Schwartz.
Well, here, let me just say that. Bell and Amari Cooper are possession guys. They run great routes. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
You can see that. There's nobody to stretch the freaking field here, right? And we keep throwing to a dude who can't catch.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
And somebody pointed out to me either last week or 2 weeks ago after we did a show, they said, the reason that a guy that can take the lid off a defense is so critical for this offense is because we know they're going to run the ball. Mm-hmm. We know that. So you want to pull safeties deep down the field. And if the guy that you have to do that isn't a major threat, then they're going to load up on the run, and they're going to 8 in the box and stop what we do best.
No doubt there's truth to that. In the end, I think the teams that can run it great, that doesn't matter. I mean, Baltimore has no ability to throw the ball deep down the field. They run it well, and the Browns have done the same thing. I mean, the Browns didn't really have that deep threat.
The Ravens have had that guy, though. I mean, they don't now. But,
because of Marquise Brown?
Well, he's better than any option we have right now.
But the Browns didn't have that option last year. I mean, unless you want to say it's Odell, but obviously it never played much of a role.
It didn't.
They didn't play a role because they didn't go to him.
Jacoby Brissett doesn't really have the ability to be throwing downfield, like deep downfield on a regular basis.
It didn't look like it.
I mean, he's just not that type of player.
Yeah.
And by the way, as much as everybody loves Jimmy Garoppolo, he ain't that type of player either. He ain't throwing deep down the field
Let's
either.
do this, guys. We're going to talk about the Carolina game for the next 10 shows. Yeah. We're going to talk about it a lot, so get used to it. But preliminarily, we now know who we are and what we have. And I've only seen 3/4 of the Panthers, so I'm not going to make a strong opinion on that one way or other. I've read the game stories, I've looked at the stats. I don't know what they are. I don't know that anybody does. Is your level, where are you on a confidence level? 10 is we're going to go in there and whip their tails. 1 is we're coming home with an L. Where are you right now?
I'm at 7. I'm confident, but listen, the game's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. The Panthers are a 1.5 favorite at home, which means the Vegas thinks the Browns are a slightly better team. Right. So I think if Watson was playing, I'd love the Browns to win easy. On Twitter this weekend, when everybody was going bananas about Brissett, I said, calling my shot now. Browns win. Baker throws more picks than Brissett.
Wow, you're already calling it then.
So, yeah, I think the Browns are going to win. I think it's going to be a close game. Ultimately, whichever team is losing in the fourth quarter is probably going to lose because I don't trust either of these quarterbacks to make a big drive to win a game. But for all this talk about Baker having a chip on his shoulder for this game, which he will, sometimes that works against Baker when he gets too amped up. And number 2, I think there's going to be plenty of guys in the Browns defense that want to give him an ass whooping in this game as well. Not because they hate him or whatever, just because he used to be their guy.
They want to win.
Yeah.
1 to 10 for you, confidence.
So I've got a 8 confidence the Browns are going to win.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
I'd say it's going to be a close game, but I tell you, this is not about who did what in preseason, who did what, who here. This is going to be run in the rectangular box.
Sure.
Who wants it the most?
Yep.
And unlike, and I'll go back to when LeBron came back to Cleveland the first game with Miami, right, where I don't think the Cavaliers were ready to play. It's going to be a problem if you're not ready to play here because we've had enough leeway time to be ready to play.
Yeah, you better be ready.
And I will tell you what, here, if we don't win this game in game one, the Avalanche is coming behind us, right? Because you want to start off on a good note. You don't want to go into this because this is going to open up a whole other door to say if Baker Mayfield comes in and has his way against the Cleveland Browns on that day.
And they get a chance to get that 118-1 monkey off their back. I know that the players will tell you, we don't think about that. That's in the past. You don't think they want to break that streak? They want to be the team that, that gets over that hump? 1 to 10 for you?
I'm nowhere near as high as these guys are.
I'm not either.
I would call it like a 3 or a 4.
Oh, that low?
Yes.
Okay.
You just said it 118. I think it's worse than that, isn't it, in openers?
Well, I think they're 118-1 in their last 20.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I don't know. That's such a horrible stat.
That tells me
McNuggets,
right there.
if you can find that, let me know. I thought they were 118-1.
Since they returned, they've won 1 opener.
Then
right?
that number's got to be worse because they came back in '99.
They've won 1 opener since they returned.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think. I thought I saw 118-1 recently.
Doesn't matter.
But that would only be 20 games.
And obviously, this team is far more talented than
They're
a lot of the teams that they've
119-1
had.
for the record.
Okay, 119-1.
60 minutes of football, it doesn't matter.
Well, you could say it doesn't matter, but I got 20 years to prove that it does matter.
Yeah.
And this team is far more talented, obviously, than a lot of the teams that have been here in the past.
And this is one of those games that is winnable, even though it's a road game.
And listen, I've been as hard on Baker as anybody in town. Bull and I both have just crushed this guy.
Killed him.
He's not good enough. He only has to be good for 1 game.
And we know he can do that.
He's had 2 months to work on this 1 game. And to Bull's point, yes, we saw it in the Packers game where he got too amped up and he throws 4 picks.
Yeah.
But I think the Browns are walking into a trap.
How much do you think it will help Baker that he knows this defense so well?
I think it helps a lot.
I do too.
I guess I look at it.
But they know him well.
I look at it from a different. I look at it from a player perspective. I don't care about nothing you're talking about here. It's me and you. I see you on Saturday. That's what I'll see.
Okay.
I don't care about what happened in the past. Don't tell me about what happened in 1962. I don't care nothing about that. I got 60 minutes, and you mine today. That's it. You mine today.
It's on the road.
Hey, I've been here. I walked into a venue, Jay, that the Cavaliers are taking the Bulls out in the regular season 6-0. Chicago Tribune, when I got on the plane, was like, Bulls losing the playoff game here. This is going to be a quick series. They had never, it took them 20 years to recover after we got done with them. Because if I listen to what history said and what the stats said,
Yeah,
I've been going home that day.
I agree. Like when you walk on the field, you're not carrying the history.
I don't care nothing about that.
But it is in the mind.
And in my mind.
It
wasn't in my mind.
Well, then you're superhuman.
It wasn't my mind.
Then you're superhuman.
Yeah, but
there will be some players that all the players know about
the
this.
11 other guys I was with, it was just not in their mind. We coming here to get you.
And in your case, it was recent history. If they were 6-0 in the regular season.
Right.
That's not ancient history. That does apply because it's same players on both teams. Like, these are different players. Every year when you break camp, you have a different roster.
I'm counting on Myles Garrett to be ready to go, Clowney ready to go, Denzel ready to go, because this should mean.
Well, they haven't played a snap, so they should be ready to go.
It should
They should be fresh.
It should mean something to you.
It should,
mean
absolutely.
something to you.
I will just tell you, there is a lot of pressure in that building to win this game. There is a lot of pressure.
There's a lot of pressure.
That's the best thing.
No, this is different.
No,
Yeah, it is
this
different
is
because
There's
the
a lot of pressure on
organization-
Baker, too.
There is.
Yeah, there is.
I think you're going to say there's a lot of pressure everywhere.
I
There's
like
a
that
ton
you
of
said
pressure
in
to win
that
this
building
game.
because it's the organization that made this decision.
Yes.
They took the chess piece in their hand and they made the bold move.
the game.
Right, but-
So now, risk reward. If it works, and obviously when they made the move, they didn't know they'd have Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback, but pressure does funny things.
Yes, it does.
It bursts pipes and it makes diamonds.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. Well, I think we'll have a good idea of the makeup of this team. My dream scenario is they go in there and they win 35-0 and they come out and they're like, who's next?
The worst scenario.
The worst scenario is they get it handed to them, and now all of a sudden those next 3 games that look like win-win-win or win-loss-win,
So-
now all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh.
So let me.
The eyes are going to get
But here's
bigger.
what's funny, guys, real quick, Brett. Here's what's funny is that in reality, this one game doesn't vindicate or not vindicate
Of
this
course.
trade. It's
No.
so stupid.
Of course.
But we will all react as if it does.
It does.
Can I
It
just-
does matter.
can
I mean, it's not like it
Of course
doesn't
it
mean
does.
anything.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Can I just remind you? Was anybody there the day Miami came in here with LeBron that day? Do you remember the venue?
I watched it. I wasn't
Moondog was
here.
in
I
a bulletproof
I
vest.
mean, this thing, I remember it all. This thing was at the fan base was at a frenzy level.
I remember
it was
it
ready
all.
to go.
Yep.
The only ones that wasn't ready to go was the 12 dudes on the sideline.
They
Yeah.
sucked. They were not a good
Yeah, it was
team.
a bad team.
And everybody left that venue mad as hell because they wasn't ready to go, because they wasn't ready to meet the moment. Now, my
Well, they
thing is-
weren't a good team
No,
either.
Yeah,
no,
but
I don't care
Brad-
if you were good. You got to be ready to meet the moment.
It was David and Goliath.
I don't care about that. You're a professional player.
He doesn't
Are
care
you ready
about that.
to meet the
Let's
moment?
go.
Right?
Okay,
That's the
before
problem.
McNuggets, before we do the ad reads, I'll just quickly say I thought I was going to be low confidence man.
Oh, yeah.
I have a 6, but an arrow down. It was an 8, even when I thought it was going to be Brissett. And then I saw things in Carolina, and I saw things in Cleveland, and now it's going down, and now it's a 6, and the arrow's still going down. I can't let myself imagine what happens if they lose. I can't.
A worst case scenario,
The
worse
Browns-
than a blowout to
Yeah.
me, a worst case scenario
used
is
to
Baker
blame
to take him down the field.
Game-winning drive. Yeah, that was.
No, that can't happen.
The one thing he
What's wrong
couldn't
with
do
these
here.
dudes?
They're
If
out
he
of it.
does it there, that would be
By
a
the way,
worst case scenario.
Against the defense that we
The
feel
Browns,
pretty good about.
The Browns, if they're going to keep the season alive and give the Watson a chance to make the playoffs, they've got to go at least 3-1 in these first 4 games.
I agree with that 100%
I
because
think
this
they're
is
2
where
and
you
2 after
this is
4.
where you collect wins.
If they're
I know.
2-2 or worse,
They're
forget
done.
it.
I
What-
agree with you 100% because the back end of that 11 games
Forget
is
it.
What happened-
impossible.
Yes.
So where's the team's confidence if they come in to take care of business in Carolina? It should be up here.
Of course
should
it
be.
will.
It should be up
Yes.
here.
Of course it will. But to
Yeah.
Bull's point, you can't exhale and be like, "Whew, we made it." You still have to go 3-1 in those first 4,
Yeah.
and you can't take your foot off the gas.
No.
You
No,
can't.
they've got, I mean, I almost feel like they got to go 4-0 if they're going to have a chance to make the playoffs.
4-0, I'd be
Well, that
feeling
ain't
really
happening.
good.
Mikey, what you got?
I agree with you. That's not happening.
Can I add one scenario to the worst case scenario?
Oh,
for the
Lord.
Browns,
Well,
Baker?
yeah.
Is Baker escaping a Myles Garrett sack on a 4th and 20, like Eli Manning did
Yeah.
in the Super Bowl, rolling out, completing a pass,
And
leading
throwing
down
and throwing the game-winning touchdown pass on that play.
The storylines from that would be almost as delicious as the Built Bar had this
Man,
morning.
stop
which I'm
thinking about
telling
that
you
crazy nonsense.
Was some of the best breakfast I've ever had. I had the cookie dough chunk puffs, and I learned something about it. I actually got them this weekend. I got the nice shipment in. And I learned that not only are these Built Bars delicious,
Didn't bring any for us.
they're super healthy. Or healthy enough. 15 grams of protein, 160 calories, and they have, as the package says, synthetic proteins which dissolve faster and better for you. So yeah, if you're not eating Built Bars, you're missing out. And the best part,
We'd like to be eating Built Bars.
You
You
didn't
got
bring any
you
for
got
us.
the nice
shipment,
package
got the
in this
nice
weekend.
shipment.
Listen, I only got 2. So when I get
well,
more,
that's
the
the
full
shipment.
shipment will bring
And you
them
ate
in.
both.
I had one. I'm going to have one tomorrow, or on Wednesday when it's the next Built Bar read day.
Okay.
But you get 15% off if you go to Built.com and use promo code LOCKDOWN15. Before we bring in Tim, because Tim's ready, we have to do what the internet is saying, because we asked the internet how they reacted to Jacoby Brissett's first preseason performance, and we got quite some good answers.
Okay.
But as always, let's tell you about PCC Airfoils. Tim, we're getting you 1 sec. Don't worry. Are you looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, get full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more.
All right, no song today. We got to get to Tim. Let's go. Stop messing
All
around.
right, so let's punch the tag board full here, Mike. Mike's first tag board, nailed it. We asked the internet, in only one sentence, how would you describe your confidence level in Jacoby Brissett as the Browns' starting quarterback? And Anthony, let's take the next one here. This is from Mark Moster. About as much as I trust to fart after eating Taco Bell.
That is the risky thing. It is risky to fart after eating Taco Bell. There's no doubt.
Tim Couch is laughing as well.
I was going to say, I like it when you ask in a meme,
Yeah.
because those are hilarious,
funny.
but that's great.
That's funny.
I'm trying
That's
to mix
funny.
it up. We're doing 3 words or less, 5 words or less.
Okay.
A sentence, getting
That's
some
funny.
variation.
No, I like that.
All right, let's get to the next one, Anthony. This was a more serious one. I think he'll be fine, but last night he proved he should have played in all 3 games,
That's
which
wrong.
we all referenced. And then last one before we get to Tim here. Dude's a meatloaf. I don't know what it means, but it made me laugh. So I decided it deserved to be
D-O-O-D
in
is
the,
meatloaf.
what the internet is saying.
He needs a spelling
Yeah.
lesson.
Hey, no, it's the cool way to spell dude these
All
days.
right.
I've seen others do that online.
Wow.
All right, let's bring in Tim Couch. Tim, always
He's
great
not
to have you on the
Meatloaf.
program.
Tim's not Meatloaf.
Tim, we're doing the confidence meter, and I know we're 2 weeks out of the game. We're going to talk about this a lot. But we went around the horn on where are you in confidence. 10, going into the Carolina game. 10 is they're going to go in there and hand Baker their lunch. 1 is we're coming back with an L. The range was 8
7
to 7, 3,
3, 4.
and I had them at a 6. But my arrow's going down.
Clevelanders.
Where's your
Typical
confidence
Clevelanders, yeah.
meter going into this
Clevelanders.
game?
I'm probably about a 5 or a 6.
Oh, my God.
Right around
Come on,
in
baby.
there.
Come on, baby.
Yeah.
Brad's taking
I
heat
just,
over here.
Come on, baby.
Yeah, I just worry about the Browns receiving core a little bit. You know, we see a lot of drops in these preseason games. I know Amari Cooper's not out there, but we see Schwartz, who are dependent on to play a major role in this offense, dropping balls consistently throughout the preseason. If you can't catch them in the preseason, how are you going to catch it when the intensity picks up several notches when the regular season starts? And then also, Baker's playing really well, man. You from what I'm reading about how his camp is going, what I'm seeing out of his preseason games, he looks healthy. He looks really good. So I don't feel great about it. But obviously, we haven't seen the Browns out there at full strength with their offensive, Pro Bowlers and the whole team out there. So we'll see how it goes week 1. But I don't feel great about it going in as we look at it right now.
Tim, Belichick said yesterday, actually, preseason, you can't read anything out of preseason. I've been screaming and yelling about this for years when I see other media members analyze preseason as if, like, I can't do it. You mentioned Cooper hasn't played, Hunt hasn't played, Chubb hasn't played. Some of their starting offensive linemen, their 2 best corners and their 2 best pass rushers. I just can't read that much into preseason. What do you think? It seems like you feel like you've learned something, at least from the Panthers. Can you really take something from the preseason and translate it to what it might mean in the regular season?
I'm probably with you. There's not a whole lot you can take from a preseason game. It's just, like you said, you don't know who's out there. Are they playing with a full roster, or there's guys just kind of, piecing guys together, trying to get other guys some reps, some young guys, trying to see what they look like with the ones. So you really can't take a whole lot from it. But I also know that you don't want to see a guy that you're dependent on to play a major role in your offense dropping easy catches in a
That's
preseason
fair.
game.
That's fair.
That is alarming to me. I think, that does concern me. I think you want to see a little better performance. Not that guys need to go out and look, perfect in the preseason, but you do want to see them make those easy routine catches. And if not, you're kind of like, hey, how's this going to look? When the regular season starts. So you just never know.
Hey, Tim, I see UK keep you in your gear again. I see you got new, fresh UK gear. But we'll keep it moving.
Hey, season starts on Saturday, man.
They're ranked aren't they
gear.
ranked in the top 25? I think they're ranked, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They've got a great team coming back. A couple really good pieces. They've got a quarterback who a lot of people are projecting to possibly be a top 10 pick next year. A guy named Will Levis. He's a transfer from Penn State. Won 10 games here last year. Won a bowl game. Beat Iowa in the bowl game. So he's a heck of a football player. We got some really good young guys coming back. So should be an interesting season for us.
All right.
Tim, do you approve of Will Levis putting mayonnaise in his coffee, though? From
What?
UK quarterback
Not
to
at all.
UK
Man.
quarterback.
Not at all. Yeah,
All right,
not at all. We
let's
played golf together the other day, and I had to mention that. I'm like, man, what in the hell are you putting mayonnaise in coffee for?
What was his answer?
Disgusting.
He says it's good. He says, kind of don't knock it till you try it kind of thing, but I'm not going down that road, man. There's no
That's
mayonnaise.
crazy.
I don't like
That's
mayonnaise
crazy.
very
Hey,
much
so-
on anything, much less on coffee. So,
Tim, let me ask you this: if we get back to football here, to me, it seems like the Browns are at least one wide receiver short here, and then the D line is a problem. I don't see the interiors inside the D line looking like it's ready to go at all here. What do you see?
yeah, I would agree with all that. There's always, there's a few pieces that you look at right now that's a little bit concerning. Obviously, they have such a talented roster, and there's talent all over the field, and Pro Bowlers, and guys ranked within the top 100 in the league on this team. So there's a talented group of guys, but there are some areas for concern. But I think you could probably look at every roster in the NFL and say, well, nobody's strong at every position. You feel a little bit of concern about certain things, but. I think for me, it's just the wide receiver core more than anything. I just don't understand where they're going to get the playmaking ability from in the passing game. And obviously, they're going to focus more on the running game with Chubb and Hunt, especially with Brissett in there early on for the first 11 games. But still, you're going to have to make plays in the passing game. And guys are going to have to step up. Teams can really key on Cooper. They can take him away. They can double team him. They can roll coverage to him. So other guys are going to have to step up within this offense. So you're going to have to have the tight ends step up. These wide receivers are going to step up, and you have to have some running backs catching the ball out of the backfield as well. So that's my biggest area of concern, and so certainly want to see how they're going to address that going into week one.
Tim, Brissett got a lot of questions after the game about Anthony Schwartz, and obviously, the guy's not going to crush his receiver in the media. But in your time, have you ever played with a guy who couldn't catch herpes from a hooker?
Oh my God!
What do you
Cleveland guys are going crazy today.
What do you do in that instance as a quarterback when you see a guy open in the field? Do you pause before throwing it to him again? Do you hesitate? And is there anything I don't mean necessarily Schwartz can't. I'm just saying there's guys at quarterbacks that play with it struggle to catch the ball. Is there anything you can do as a quarterback to rebuild confidence in a guy? And do you hesitate throwing it to him when he's open in the field the next time he's open?
Well, I think you definitely hesitate a little bit. I think, you don't want to lose confidence in a guy too quickly, but there's no question about it. You're thinking, if you see one-on-one coverage out there, you're thinking, I don't know if he wins this route, I don't know if he's going to catch it or not. So, but the only thing you can really do is get with him, after practice, before practice, and just catching extra balls and just, just making sure you're kind of building him up a little bit, that you haven't lost confidence in him, one of those kind of things. But, the more it happens, though, the easier it is to lose confidence. And, quarterbacks are going to go away from that guy. If you can't trust him, if you think the ball's not going to be caught, you're just going to go find someone else to throw the ball to. So it gets to be tough after a while, but really there's not much you can do about it. If they're going to put him out on the field and he's where your read takes you, then you got to hope he's going to catch the ball. But if it's not happening, you lose confidence pretty quickly.
Well, let me tell you something, Tim. In necessary roughness, Scott Bakula finally threw the ball to Stonehands in the game against Texas, whatever the hell they were called, and he made the catch, Stonehands.
That's Hollywood.
And they came. That's what it is. Did you ever see that? Have you seen Necessary Roughness? Do you remember that movie?
Oh yeah, I've seen Necessary Roughness.
How was Scott Bakula as a quarterback? Did he translate well?
No.
Did he look like a real quarterback or no?
I'm with Jay. It's Hollywood, man. They made him look good when the time was right.
That's always the position in all of sports. Pitcher.
Sandler. What about Sandler?
Yeah, no, he didn't pull it off either. First of all, his pads were like a linebacker's
Burt
pads.
Reynolds?
I think the hardest sports position in movies to pull off is pitcher in baseball. Charlie Sheen was a joke. His mechanics were a nightmare.
It was terrible.
And quarterback in football, because, Tim, you can talk to this. The mechanics of throwing a ball properly, it's so hard to teach someone that in real life. And now they're trying to teach actors how to do that. It's not a good look.
No, it's not a good look. I've seen some pretty disastrous attempts at guys trying to teach actors how to throw a football in a few months' time. So it never looks good. If you didn't kind of grow up, throwing a football, it's really difficult to teach a guy. And you can tell right away whether this guy had any football in his background or not.
You know who looked like a real player? Tom Selleck in Mr. Baseball. Did you ever see that?
I did. He pulled it off. I thought Kevin Costner played in college.
Yes, for love of the game.
Kevin was pretty damn good.
Yeah. Although draft day sucked ass. I know it was about the Browns. That movie was
Eddie
horrible.
Harris in Major League was awful.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was terrible. Yeah,
I actually thought Sheen was okay.
I
compared to
thought
Eddie
his,
Harris.
his mechanics were a mess. His mechanics were a mess.
Yeah, anyway.
So, Tim, back to football.
Yeah.
We were talking about chemistry and how you develop it with players. And there's two schools of thought here in the preseason. You leave your stars at home. And then there's the Mike Tomlin school. Tomlin yesterday against the Lions played his starters on both sides of the ball for the entire first half. And yeah, TJ Watt limped off with an ankle, and Deontay Johnson also got dinged a little bit. Neither injury is said to be serious. But is there something to be said for at least getting Cooper and Brissett some real under fire as you can get in the preseason? All they're doing is working together in practice. That concerns me greatly. As a quarterback, are you concerned if when the real bullets start to fly, you see a guy in your huddle in a game that you haven't seen in a game yet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably old school when it comes to this. You know, we used to play a whole half, you know, in the third preseason game back in the day. All the starters did. So, you know, you had some of those game-type reps with everyone. And, you know, especially these guys are new to the system. You know, Brissett and Cooper are both guys that haven't been here. This is their first year in the system. So I would love to see them out there in a preseason game and try to connect in a game-type situation when the bullets are flying. And, you know, the speed of the game is picked up quite a bit from practice. Before, you know, you get out there week one, and like you said, Jay, you're out there in the huddle, and you don't know exactly how this guy's going to come out of a route, or if he's seeing the right side adjustments and hot routes and reading the blitzes and coverages the way you want him to. So yeah, I personally would love to see it in a preseason game just to get these guys acclimated a little bit. But you know, it's just like you said, these coaches do it differently nowadays. You know, some coaches are old school and they like to see their starters, and some guys just say, I'm not taking that risk. I'm not putting my guys out there that I know I'm going to need once the regular season starts.
Tim, hundreds and hundreds of players are going to get cut. Many of them will lose their livelihood forever in the next 24 hours or so. What is it like for guys in this time as you wait for those cuts?
Oh, it's brutal. It's a brutal time, man. You know, I experienced that when I went to Green Bay. When I left Cleveland was with the Packers. I had a shoulder injury and was getting ready to get surgery and everything like that. So I kind of knew that I wasn't going to make it because I'd played terribly in the preseason because I was injured. But it's gut wrenching, man, because you know it's your whole livelihood. Like you said, it's what you've worked your entire life for, and you're finally there. You're right on the doorstep, and you know you just you hope you've done everything you can possibly do to make the roster, done all the preparation you can do, put in all the work. But still, at the end of the day, it's still not enough sometimes. Even if you've done everything the right way, it comes down to a numbers game sometimes. Or whatever the situation may be. But, you know, you're always thinking in the back of your mind, I'm not only trying to make this squad, I'm trying to make all the other squads as well, because whatever I put out on film is kind of my resume. And, you know, if I don't catch on here, there's an opportunity for me to catch on somewhere else. But it's a gut-wrenching time, man. I know what these guys are going through right now, and we just wish everyone the best of luck.
Hey, Tim, the question for you. Check this out. You know, when is it time for a team to break off of somebody they had high hopes for? You know, you're a guy that you think is going to turn out to a player, but at some point you carry it on for a while, and then the team has to make a decision. Do I stay with what I
Schwartz
think, or do I stay with, or do I move on? And Schwartz comes to mind.
Sure.
And then Greedy Williams comes to mind, because I see Greedy Williams. I'm like, okay, where's this dude that's supposed to be at LSU that was supposed to be nice? It doesn't look too nice here, right? How long do we stay with that and eat up valuable roster spots, and where I give somebody who I didn't think was going to make the team a chance to really maybe produce some things?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You know, I think it's all kind of individualized, you know, about like, you know, where you at in the roster at that position. You know, do you really need this guy? Can you give up on him? Do you feel good about who's behind him? You know, all those kind of things, you know, factor into it. But you know, if you don't see it, you know, after, you know, a couple seasons, you know, a whole entire off season and OTAs and training camps and preseason games, like, you know, if you don't see it, man, it's probably not going to translate out there when the bullets are for real in week one and once the season gets started. So, you know, you want to believe in guys, you want to give them every opportunity, but at the same time, if you're not seeing production, then you got to go in a different direction.
Tim, where do you fall on Josh Dobbs? And obviously he's had a terrific preseason. He's taken advantage of every opportunity he's had. But as Bull screams all the time, it's the preseason. He's going against twos. I look at a guy who's made 17 career throws and say, how can you trust him to be a backup quarterback? You just don't have enough proof. Where do you fall on him? He's one snap away. I've been screaming for Jimmy Garoppolo for weeks. I'm tired of screaming about it. But do they need a veteran of some sort as a backup? Or are you comfortable? Have you seen enough out of Josh Dobbs this preseason to call him the number 2?
Well, it's hard not to like what you've seen out of Dobbs. And you guys have a great point. He is going against 2s and 3s and guys just trying to make the team at times. So the competition level is not what it's going to be during a regular season game, but he has taken advantage of his opportunities and he looks every bit the part. To me, what I look for is how does he look within the system? Does he look comfortable, calling the plays, getting in and out of plays? Is his read sharp? Is he getting rid of the football quickly? Can he extend plays when it breaks down with his legs? Can he just make something out of it when nothing is there? And he's shown all those things to me so far. So, but like you said, he hasn't played much in the regular season. Only 17 career pass attempts. So you just never know what you're going to have once the competition level steps up there. But he does show that he could be a valuable backup guy right now, especially if they're not going to go in another direction, bring in a veteran. I think that he is a guy that could hold it down for a game or two or here or there. But I don't think he's a long-term answer. But I do feel confident in him going out and possibly winning a game or two here or there, just with his athletic ability, his ability to run and throw, and the comfort level that he looks like he has it within the offense right now.
Tim, if the 49ers do cut, Jason mentioned Garoppolo. If the 49ers do cut Garoppolo and the Browns were interested, and let's say they signed him, Wednesday, Thursday this week. Obviously, he can't play. Well, he could, in theory, play week 1, but he's coming off an injury and he hasn't been here. How long do you think it would take him to be ready to start for the Browns?
I think a guy like that could get ready pretty quickly. You could get him in the meeting room and just say, what do you feel comfortable with? How do these plays translate into what you've been doing in the past in New England and San Francisco? Does any of this look familiar to you? It's probably different terminology, but, a lot of these schemes and routes concepts are very similar. Wherever you go, they just call it something different. So they could get him up to speed pretty quickly, in my opinion. A guy who's had that many He's had this much experience, all the game reps, winning football games, going deep in playoffs, taking a team to the Super Bowl. I think you can get a guy like that ready to go pretty quickly. I wouldn't know exactly what how many weeks that would be, but I think you could get him to where he's at least comfortable to go out there and call plays in a game and understand somewhat where he's trying to go with football.
Jay, for those that aren't familiar with the cap situation, because that would be a hurdle in bringing him in.
Not if he were cut.
If he were cut, no, not this year, right? How does that work? What would they be looking at from a number standpoint, the Browns, and how likely is it that they could do that?
They've got $50 million in space now. They're obviously trying to roll as much of that into next year as they can. They're projected right now to be $30 million over the cap next year, so every dollar counts. I don't know. Could you get him for $8 million? Would Jimmy Garoppolo sign here for $8 million?
I would think less, though, because he's got some guaranteed money, right?
He has zero guaranteed.
Yeah.
0 out of the 24.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So he's getting nothing when
so
the Niners.
okay.
Baker took a small haircut to go to Carolina, and that made the deal possible.
Right. But his contract was fully guaranteed. Baker's was.
Yes.
Jimmy has no guarantee.
Right.
No, but we're saying if he gets cut.
Yeah, if he gets cut, that's my scenario.
Right, he's in no demand to be getting.
Well, the only demand would be if Seattle wants to bring him in. Right. So you could be bidding against a team like the Seahawks. I don't think Seahawks are going to war with Geno Smith. I don't think there's any way they do that.
See, I think they do because I think they want their next guy. Tim, you can weigh in. I think Seattle's made it clear they want one of these college quarterbacks. So they're willing to take their lumps this year. They're going to tank.
Well, maybe then we would be bidding against ourselves for Jimmy G.
But how much does Jimmy really want to come here? And I don't know the answer to that. I've tried to find out the answer to that, and I can't tell you because it's not a full season. And really, Tim, the way I look at it, I want Jimmy for weeks 5 through 11. When it's Justin Herbert, when it's Tom Brady, when it's Lamar Jackson, when it's Joe Burrow, the Browns are going to be outgunned at quarterback pretty much every game on the schedule, but some are worse than others. And if you just look at that stretch from 5 to 11, you were talking earlier, it wouldn't take him very long to get up to speed. I think it took him a month from the time the Niners traded for him until they actually put him on the field. So get him ready for October for me and let him go up against that stretch that I was just talking about, beginning when the Chargers come into town. I mean, that's a huge difference in quarterback ability. I've said it before, Jimmy Garoppolo's worst season in quarterback rating is better than Jacoby Brissett's best season.
Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree with that. I would be on board completely with that situation where you bring him in now and groom him for those games, get him up to speed, and surely you can get Jimmy Garoppolo ready to go by that point in the season where he's able to go out and feel comfortable in the offense. And, I would feel much better going into those games, just like you said, against those quarterbacks he's going to be facing. At least with Jimmy G, you got a guy that is a proven winner in this league that you feel like you have a fighting chance when you go face some of those teams during that part of the schedule.
Tim, 2 weeks now between the end of the preseason and the start of the regular season. It used to just be, regular season started 1 week after your final preseason game. How do you think that changes things for the players? Are they installing more of an offense at this point? What's going on in the next 2 weeks?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you get guys a little bit, you get guys healthy, guys that are dinged up a little bit throughout camp, and guys have suffered some injuries throughout the preseason. You get an extra week to get those guys healthy and get them back out on the field, get them feeling fresh, and then you get the guys get up to speed a little bit. You get more repetitions during practice. Obviously, with Brissett and some of these guys, you want to get as many reps as you possibly can going into that week one. So I think they just use it as that. Get guys healthy, get some guys a little more experience within the systems, and hopefully everyone's firing on all cylinders come week one.
You were small part of this cloud over the Browns organization that is 1-19-1 in season openers since the Browns came back in '99. Obviously, for you didn't have to worry about that, but you've been part of teams where you knew when you played Alabama what Kentucky's record was against Alabama for all those years. How much are players thinking about that when they take the field against Carolina? We've won one season opener in the last 22 years.
Yeah, it's hard to believe they've only won one season opener in the last 22 years. I didn't realize that it was that number. I knew it wasn't very many, but I didn't realize it was that. So, but I don't think a lot of these players really care, to be honest with you, Jay. I think their way of thinking is, hey, I wasn't part of that team, 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 5 years ago. This is a whole new team, a fresh start. So I think guys probably look at it more that way. And, as players, you just feel so confident every week that you're going to go out and win the game, no matter what the past says, what the history of the team says. So I wouldn't think guys play very much into that at all. I think it's just more of a, they're so focused on what they have to do to win a game. That's all they're really concerned about is going out and, well, what do they have to do to go beat Carolina?
They are thinking about Baker, though, on the other sideline.
Oh, they're definitely going to think about Baker. Yeah, and I'm sure Baker's going to give them some material to think about him even more as the week goes on leading up to the game. So
that's
I can't wait for that one, man.
Oh,
all right.
Can't wait.
Hey,
Thanks,
Tim, when we see you next, we'll be in game week officially. So have a great week. We'll see you next Monday.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's when it really gets fun.
Right. See you guys.
Tim Couch with us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Yeah, I would expect that. I think it's something that's in their mind. It's way in the back. They're not thinking about it. They're thinking more about we get to go take a shot at Baker.
Yeah. And he also mentioned Anthony Schwartz. When I asked him about, what can you read for the preseason, he agreed that you can't read much. He said, but if a guy can't catch a routine ball, that is something that's concerning.
In the preseason, how is he going to catch it when there's more intensity?
Right.
The
concern over Anthony Schwartz's ability to hold on to the football, that's a legit concern.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Let's talk about Schwartz because I will say that I feel slightly better. I think this is what they're going to do as they go into the season. David Bell looks like a competent NFL receiver to me.
Absolutely.
He runs nice routes. He has good instincts. He catches the football. He does all the things that you want your number two to do. But as I think more about this, guys, I think that the Browns paid Njoku what they did because they know that his role in this offense is going to be even greater than we've seen at any point in the past. You've got a quarterback whose average passing attempt in the NFL for his entire career is 5 yards.
That's bad.
It's bad. And we saw that when he was in there. He's making
4.7 the other night.
So it's consistent with what he's done for his career. It's 2 steps out, which is fine. But the problem with that is your strength is your run. And if you can crowd that area in the line of scrimmage, you now make it difficult to do what you do best. So he is who he is at this point, Jacoby. You're not going to change him. But I think that they're going to see a lot of balls go to Njoku. And that's why this organization decided to write that big check. He's more important to them now than ever.
I told you that they are a wide receiver away. They're a threat. The other wide receivers are a threat. They have to have another threat to neutralize on the other side because they know that they've got the backs in the backfield, and that they may be prone to more running the ball, so they got to kind of stack it a little bit. what I see in Schwartz is, that's why I asked Tim to couch the question. Sometimes an organization, because they wasted a high pick on somebody, will stay with you longer just to prove to themselves.
Particularly when you're the guy that made the pick.
Right. That my guy was not wrong. Right. Well, I'm sorry. From what I've seen here, nothing against Anthony Schwartz, right? Something is wrong here. There's a problem. Yeah. There's a problem here.
I wouldn't cut him yet. I get what you're saying. I think teams are sometimes afraid to cut guys, but it's only been 1 year. But I could see them cutting him next year. I'm not cutting him now. As bad as he's been, he was bad last year.
He was, what, a third rounder?
Yeah.
Don't you have to give him 2 years,
You got to give him
Jason?
at least 2 years.
Like, I understand.
And by the way, David Njoku, who you're talking about having more of a load, he had a huge drops problem, and he improved last year.
He did. Great.
You know?
But it seems like
there's something
I know
wrong.
if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck.
I don't have a ton of faith that he can turn that around, but I would give him 1 more year to try.
I think I'm inclined to go your route too. But to Tim's point, it was interesting to hear him say that. I've heard a lot of other quarterbacks say that too. When he drops a ball in a key spot, it's almost like he's ineffective out there now.
Yeah.
It's like you're without a receiver, because if he's reluctant to throw the ball into that area of the field, then you got to change.
Jay,
you got to move on.
Jay, you're a golfer. Let me equate this to what this is. He has the yips.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's in his head. Yeah, I think
you're right. I think
he
you're right
has
about
the
that.
yips, and when people get the yips, you know how hard it is to get out the yips?
It's not easy. I've had them.
I'll take it back to last year. Schwartz is the one that got Baker injured initially because he quit on the route against the Texans. They picked the ball off, and Baker separates his shoulder. Now, it's not
nobody
Schwartz's
forced
fault.
Baker to make
I was
the
just going to say that. It's not Schwartz's fault
Yeah.
that Baker's trying to make a tackle.
His mistake
But
led
it's
to the injury.
Absolutely.
Baker should have been smart enough and
get out of the
avoided
way.
contact.
To get out of the way.
Yeah, I said it's all on Baker. I can't blame Schwartz for that. But you're right. His mistake in that spot is a mistake that you make once with a quarterback, because now he's less likely to go back there.
Yeah.
He's got to be wide open now for him to get the football. And in the NFL, separation is a step. You know, nobody's getting 3-4 steps behind anybody.
I would equate it to basketball. Guys who played with LeBron knew if you miss it, he ain't coming back right away. You
That's right.
That's one of many. We ain't think about that. Get out of here. I'm telling you, I keep going back to the golf. It's the putting, the yips.
Yeah.
When you have it, it's here now. Because, I mean, he's hitting him in his hands.
I know.
These are like, this is not like a bomb.
Right.
This is right here.
Yeah.
And it's going through your.
And he's hearing the chatter.
So you'd cut him. You'd release him.
Well, here in this case, I can't fix it because I have a short window here with this team. Am I going to give up a spot to somebody that can't help me?
What if you practice squat him to get his attention?
I don't even think
another team could sign him off your practice
Yeah,
squad.
you're right.
So be it. I mean,
But
I still wouldn't
that's
do it.
essentially
But
releasing.
I'm with you. I don't think it's going to happen because there's no way Andrew Berry is ready to.
he hasn't
raise
cut
his
any
hand
of
on
his
this.
draft picks.
No,
ever
I
to
mean
this
it's going to
point.
happen eventually,
Yeah.
of course. But
Yeah.
usually the GM knows, and they still see something in him, obviously, or they would have already made that move.
So release him, yes or no?
Would I release him?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You would.
Absolutely
I'm
would.
with Bull. I don't cut him. I give him another year. I give him
and
another year.
I think I'm with you guys too. Here's the thing: who are you bringing in that makes you feel better about the offense?
Right.
Somebody.
That's the question.
Somebody.
Well, they don't fall out of the sky. You know, they don't fall out of the sky.
There's a number of guys sitting on the side. I don't care if you're.
But nobody wants them, obviously,
I
or
don't
they'd
care
be
if you're
signed by
old.
now.
I don't care if you're old. And you could be young and the thoroughbred you want. You can't catch.
Well,
That's a
to your
problem.
point, you just said something that I want to ask Jason about. You said, well, nobody wants these guys, or they would have signed by now. I think the next week is going to be wildly active because there are guys that are on the sideline specifically because I don't want to go to camp. I'm 9 years in. I'm 10 years in. I don't want to go to camp. I'm going to wait until it's over, and then I'm going to pick a team. Also, the makeup of all 32 teams is going to change in the next 48 hours.
Sure.
And we don't know who's going to be
You don't know
available.
who's gonna be available.
And we don't know who's going to be on this roster.
But I'm going to tell you this. It's just like when Beckham went to L.A., right? Now, people, when he left here, people were like, he washed up, he has nothing left in the tank, right? You still had to respect him at that side. They still had to pay attention to him.
Sure.
Right? Now, you got Schwartz out there. Ain't nobody paying attention to him.
Not yet.
Not yet.
You know, you got to do something before you get a lot of focus on the defense. And that's what scares me. You do need two receivers. You do need a guy that can take the top off the defense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this team is going to see 8 in the box from the time they step off the bus until the time they get on the plane.
Yeah.
And that scares me.
The Ravens played 9.
I know they
last
did.
year.
And they were
9.
basically looking at Baker saying,
throw it.
we know you can't throw it.
Yep.
So we're going to stop what you want to
Jay,
do.
what do you think they were saying when they got to the line? You think they were screaming that across the line? We're coming.
Sure they were.
I'm not moving.
Even if they weren't, their nonverbal communication was, we're coming for
I've
you.
never seen 9.
I hadn't either.
Until last year
I'm
against
consistently,
Baltimore.
you'd see 9 at a goal line or 4th and 1.
Yeah.
But they just
At
said,
Baltimore.
this is what we're going to do.
Yep.
And we don't think that you're good enough to beat us.
And they were right.
And they were right. Baker was terrible in that game.
Yeah.
And
you can say that about a lot of
So
games.
again, and it's nothing against Andrew Berry. You can do all this, the prep and preparation behind the scene. Think you got a target on a guy, just don't pan out.
You don't get everybody right.
I have more respect for the general manager that will cut a guy after he's seen enough, because like in Bill Belichick's world, he knows when to pull ripcord.
Yep.
And a lot of times he's pulled ripcord on guys. He did it here in Cleveland. Diminishing skills.
Yeah.
And he cut the great Bernie Kosar, and everybody was like, what in the world just happened? It shook the ground in Northeast Ohio.
And he's not drafted well. The Patriots have not drafted particularly well in recent years. He's gotten rid of guys
I think
quickly.
he needs his genius
especially at
credentials
wide
renewed.
receiver. Especially, they've drafted so many bad wide receivers. But even like, I know as a fan, like I was, my buddy James Rapine. Do you know James?
Yeah, of course.
He writes, he's a beat reporter for the Bengals. And I'm saying to him, Bengals should cut their second-round pick from last year. Second-round pick was an offensive lineman. He sucks. He's a bust.
Schwartz was third,
they
right?
Should cut him. Third-round pick, yeah.
How fast do they move on? A different regime.
Yeah.
Austin Corbett seemed to be out of here pretty quickly. Wasn't that 1 year?
He was
Did
traded.
they
trade him?
Traded
He was
to
traded.
the Chiefs.
He was traded. But
Yeah.
I think it was after 1 year.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, just on the eye test, I remember seeing him. Everybody's looking at the first couple of first-round picks, second-round picks. I remember watching him 3 or 4 days in training camp going, how did they miss on this? This guy he can't do it.
Yeah.
But
His
he's
footwork
played
was
well,
terrible.
though, since leaving
You know
here.
what? He has had.
Yeah.
He's with a new team now.
Yeah.
He's
he
changed
just went
teams
somewhere else,
again.
but he played well,
And-
Carolina.
but I wonder,
He's in Carolina.
He is in Carolina.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
right. I wonder if sometimes it takes a guy.
Yeah.
You might be able to speak to
Absolutely.
this. Sometimes it takes a guy having the fear of his career ending put into him before he wakes up and says, I got to do stuff I'm not doing. I got to work harder.
You have that, and then you go to a system where the pressure's less pressure on you to do here, and you just kind of evolve into a better player. And sometimes sometimes you get in a situation where it just doesn't work out here, and that may be where it is right now.
Yeah, speaking of it, with Joe, is Joe ready?
Joe is ready.
Okay, because Joe knows this guy. I remember there were idiots in this town that were saying that the Browns should move on from Mitchell Schwartz when he was a rookie because he struggled a little bit early, and including some idiot that I worked with. I won't name his name. And I'm like, Mitchell Schwartz is going to be really good. Give him some time. And he was a phenomenal player. And he might have, if he stayed healthier and played around longer, Joe, I think Mitchell could have possibly been a Hall of Famer.
Welcome,
What say
Joe.
you?
How are you,
Joe?
man?
Hey, thank you guys. Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that's really maybe underappreciated is how long it takes to develop offensive linemen, especially in today's NFL, with how they play in the NFL and then how you play in college football, because the college game doesn't look anything like the pro game anymore as far as the concepts and the blocking technique that you're teaching at that level versus what you learn at the NFL level. There's so much more spread offense where the offensive linemen basically are just taking 1 or 2 steps left or right or diving on the ground and cutting people for these quick passes on the edge. So it takes a lot longer to develop those guys. And some guys just take a little bit longer to develop, whether it's mental, whether it's physical. And you're speaking about Austin Corbett. I was there rehabbing my elbow when he was on the team right after he got drafted. And you could see that there was some talent there, but he definitely wasn't far enough along in his development. And he wasn't ready to be a contributor at that moment. And so he became almost a casualty of the roster because you got to make decisions, just like the Browns are going to have to make in the next couple of weeks here. You got a ton of guys in the secondary that are really good. You've got 5 running backs almost that can start in the NFL.
Yeah.
You're going to have to cut some of those dudes, and sometimes you have to make some harder decisions at positions like offensive line or backup quarterback where you're saying, hey, this guy at running back, we'd rather keep him than to keep somebody else on the offensive line because he is not ready to start. But there's potential to have a lot of injuries at this other position, and we may need that guy right now. So I think the other thing is with Austin Corbett, you go and you play in a scheme that's friendly to an offensive line with a quarterback that gets rid of the football, just like Tom Brady's been doing for 20 plus years. He's going to make you look a lot better, and that helps your confidence. And once you boost your confidence up, the sky can be the limit sometimes for offensive linemen.
Joe, we know obviously how important the quarterback position is. You know, the fans were going bananas about the way Brissett played, and I'm like, we know Jacoby Brissett. He knows who he is. The guy's been the same guy. He's not going to all of a sudden become a superstar. It just doesn't really work that way at that position. So, they're going to have to win playing great defense and running the ball with him. I mean, do you think it'll be to the point where they are even running the ball 55, 60% of the time, or is even that too much? Is that crazy?
Oh, I thought you were going to say 55 or 60 times.
Yeah,
I was like,
I
hey,
do.
sign me
Yeah.
up. That's
Maybe, yeah, you'd love that.
That'd be beautiful. But no, I think they're definitely going to be a run-first offense. I think they're still going to take shots because actually Jacoby's a pretty good play-action passer down the field. And when you watch this game, yeah, the numbers weren't there, but how many times does receivers get hit in the hands and they just drop the football? That's not his fault in that situation. And the one deep throw out of play action that they missed Schwartz down the field, I think Schwartz didn't have the right angle on his route, or he would have been there because the ball got delivered on time in the right spot. So it's pretty easy to say, yeah, his numbers weren't good and, he was terrible. But when you actually just break down what he did, he kind of did exactly what you expect and you hope from Jacoby Brissett.
Yes.
He doesn't turn the football over. He doesn't take a lot of risks. He's going to hit his tight ends and his running backs a lot for short plays. And we've got tight ends that can make short throws into nice big conversions because they're great athletes. Same thing with our running back room when you look at Kareem Hunt and Chubb, the occasional time that he catches the football. So I think you saw exactly who Jacoby Brissett's going to be. And with a top 5 defense and a great running game, they believe wholeheartedly. I mean, I've been talking to the staff from Andrew Berry and his scouts down through Kevin Stefanski and his coaches since I got there in training camp in the beginning of August. And they believe they're all in on what Jacoby Brissett can bring, especially when you compare him to the other quarterbacks that have potentially been out there. And I know there was a lot of conversation about Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his career. So if you get Jimmy Garoppolo for 11 games, yeah, he potentially could be a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And the other thing with Jimmy is sometimes he has a tendency to throw some picks when you don't want it. And I think they feel much more comfortable when they look at how good their defense is, how good their running scheme is going to be, that having a quarterback that doesn't make the big mistake is way more important than having a guy that could potentially win you a few games, come from behind in the fourth quarter, who's maybe been there before, because they don't expect to be behind too much in the fourth quarter with that great defense.
Hey, Tim, Joe, I'm back on Tim Cobb.
I'll be Tim today.
Joe, question for you. Last time you've been in Madison to the college club. When's the last time you've been to the college club?
Oh, baby. I'm going to be there this weekend. Badgers home opener this weekend against Illinois State.
And that's the only one of the
what's
Wisconsin
crazy?
Badgers that know what that is.
Hey, man, you know what's crazy about the college club is it's a place for everybody. You see sorority girls, you see frat boys, you see alumni that are in their 60s that are in there. You see former hockey players, you see football players. It's been the hot spot in Madison
Don't
for
forget the
at least 50
basketball
years.
news either. Hey, so question. So there's two things I want to say that I want to see what happens with Kelly as a running back. 'Cause I've been impressed with Kelly's running.
But he's gone.
I just hate to. That's just. This is one that's going to get away from us. But the one I want to ask you about, the defensive interior line. Togiai and Winfrey.
Winfrey.
This is troubling to me. Is it troubling to you?
Yeah. Well, Jordan Elliott's been very impressive throughout training camp, and the times that he's been in there during the preseason, he's been awesome. He remade his body during the offseason. I think he added 15, 20 pounds of muscle, and I think he's finally, to your point earlier about it clicked. He realized, I have this potential and I haven't lived up to it, and it's kind of a make or break year for you when you're in that third season. So I think Jordan Elliott's great. They really like what Taven Bryan has done. He's shown flashes throughout his career, but he just had no consistency. So I think the Browns are hoping that with a little bit more experience and with Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett near him, it's going to kind of bring his level of performance and consistency to the next step. Togiai, been okay, maybe a good role player for them. Winfrey, another guy that's been inconsistent. So there are some concerns certainly on the inside, but I think I'm less concerned right now with the inside of that defensive line than I was going into training camp after seeing how well they've performed thus far during the season.
Hey, Joe, we played the confidence meter game on the Browns going to Carolina, and our number 1 to 10 ranged anywhere from Brad with an 8 and Jason Lloyd was at a 3.
3 or 4.
Or 4.
3.5.
Well, I'm going to give you 3 as a floor.
Yeah.
So, Joe, break out your confidence meter. Less than 2 weeks away now. Where are you? The Browns going to Carolina. They come back with an easy win. You're a 10. They're going to come back with an L. You're a 1. Where are you?
So I'm at like a 7. I feel pretty confident about that game. I think Browns defense knows Baker Mayfield really well, which will be their advantage. I think the Browns running game, while Carolina has a very good defensive line and a very good defense, I think they're still going to be able to run the football. I believe in Jacoby Brissett more than most people probably at this point. And so I feel pretty good about that game, especially with all the pressure that Matt Rule is under to win early. I think sometimes that can be counterproductive because then you get guys that are pressing, that are doing more than they're supposed to, more than they're asked for. And then that's when you can get a lot of turnovers and mistakes. The reason I'm not more confident is the Baker Mayfield factor. If you look back in his career, whenever he's got that chip on his shoulder and people don't believe in him, like he finds this amazing innate ability inside of him to just play way outside of what you expect from him, way over his skis where he's just Superman. And I get a little nervous because you know that is probably the most important game to him personally that he's ever played in his life because he is the most spiteful, take it personal type quarterback that the Browns have ever seen. And he absolutely should have taken it personal with what happened at the end of his career in Cleveland. So you know that he is just putting everything he's got into this game. But I just don't think in the end Carolina has enough weapons to be able to hold up to what the Browns can bring down to Carolina.
Joe, what do you do with Anthony Schwartz besides give him a hug?
I mean, I said it on the broadcast yesterday. I said, man, you just feel sorry when you see a guy that's going through something like that because catching is all about confidence, right? And he had a great spring and he had some really good days in training camp and everybody kind of thought maybe, he kind of turned the corner. He started believing in his hands again. And all of a sudden in the preseason games, it's been just tough to watch, like easy completions just being dropped right and left. And when that happens, it's like a snowball just going downhill. And then all of a sudden you don't believe you can catch anything. And when you don't believe you can catch anything, that you're probably right. And that's probably the case right now with Anthony Schwartz. And so you don't really want to cut him. You certainly don't want to cut him. He's really your only deep threat that you have, the only guy that can kind of make those safeties back up a little bit to create some space, especially you got Jacoby Brissett. He's going to want to hit the middle of the field a lot. He's going to want to hit those tight ends. And if you don't have somebody taking the top off, running those for the love of the game, just go routes from your slot position, like those safeties are going to be at about 10 or 11 yards, just playing everything short. And so I think he's really important to get on the field. I don't know how much he's going to be featured. I think maybe what you can do is try to give him some of those around, some of those reverses that he scored on a lot in college, maybe stretch the field horizontally a little bit, and then just let him run the go routes. Like, don't throw him any speed outs. I mean, how many times did we see him drop those little speed outs in preseason, which for most guys, for Cooper, it's going to be routine, but really that's not who he is. Just let him run posts and corners and post corners and goes and like just get him exhausting the other team's secondary most of the game.
Joe, I want to ask you some specifics about the Browns offensive line in a second, but as one of the greatest left tackles of all time, I got to put this question to you. I got to take you out of it because it's not fair to make you pick yourself or pick against yourself. Walter Jones, Jonathan Ogden, Orlando Pace, or Anthony Munoz. You got to stop Bruce Smith or LT. You have to pick one of those four guys. Who you taking?
Yeah, easy for me, Walter Jones. Now, I will put the caveat out there that I never watched Munoz because he was a little bit before my time. And actually, the times that I've watched him since then, the technique that they used, it kind of became obsolete by the time Walter Jones, Ogden, Pace came into the game. Right. So for his era, compared to other eras, I don't know if anybody was more dominant ever. Like that's kind of easy for me to say. But when I'm comparing who you were versus somebody else, even in a different era, to me, it's Walter Jones. Nobody was more technically sound. Nobody was bigger, faster, stronger, and played with better leverage and knee bend than Walter Jones. And so I think he would have no problem even going against like a guy like LT because people forget. Because Walter Jones was a quiet guy. He played in Seattle, so people just didn't know a whole lot about him. But
Right.
the dude ran a 4.6 at like 330 pounds, and he squats like 800 pounds. Like he was one of the very first physical freaks. And I know Ogden is absolutely a physical freak, 6'9", 360, but he didn't have the speed, and I think he would have struggled against a little guy like LT. Like if you watch some of Ogden's highlight reels against Dwight Freeney, especially later in his career, he was banged up with the toe, but like he sometimes had a hard time because he was so tall, like bending down with those little guys that would make those quick inside moves. And LT had those moves, obviously, and he was a smaller guy with speed. But I don't think Walter Jones, I ever saw him struggle against any body types.
Well, let's talk about the current offensive line and you know, both your tackles right now. Obviously, you talk about Jedrick Wills has a lot of talent, but he's had a ton of injuries again in the preseason. Jack Conklin, a right tackle, same thing. Obviously, he's a proven talent, but he's had a ton of injuries. And then we know what's happened with the center position. You go from one of the best players in J.C. Treader to a young guy in Nick Harris, and now Ethan Posick, or I can't even remember how to pronounce his name. But you know, obviously, we know the guards are great. How concerned are you about the center and tackles right now?
I think really the bright spot of preseason thus far has been the play of the offensive line. Like I was up in that booth waiting to highlight those guys all day long, but really they were solid all across the board in pass protection and run protection, or in opening the holes in the running schemes. So I was really happy with the way the offensive line played, and I think I've seen a lot more consistency from Jed. He dealt with a really bad ankle injury most of the season last year, and I think that had a part to do with it because I think it got into his head a little bit, and then he kind of lost some confidence. And when you do that, it's hard to be consistent. But Jed's playing really good football right now. He had a great week of practice against the Eagles defensive line, which is one of the best defensive lines in the NFL, and I really believe in him. I think he's going to have a breakout season. Jack, it remains to be seen how healthy he's going to be when he gets back in there. But I think Chris Hubbard's solid as a backup. James Hudson's made some really nice progress. Obviously, we know the guards are all pros. And Ethan Posick's a guy, he's played a lot of football. If he can be healthy out there, I think this is going to be a really good offensive line. I don't think it's going to be nearly as good as the line was when they had J.C. Treader and obviously Jack before he got injured and Jed. But I don't have a whole lot of concern on the offensive line. I save my concern for the receiver group.
Hey, Joe, is that the Callahan factor? And is he the best position coach in the NFL? Not just O-line coach, but is he the best at coaching any group of players that is currently in the league?
Well, it's hard to compare apples to oranges across the league, especially not knowing everybody, but certainly it's easy for me to say, of the ones that I know, he is among the best position coaches in the NFL. I remember Andrew Berry called me when they were looking to put their staff together, and he was asking about Callahan, and I didn't really have any carryover with Callahan because he'd never coached me, and I never ran into him, even though he was a Wisconsin coach back in the 90s. But I know a lot of guys that have played for him, and I've watched his offensive lines from a distance for several years, especially when he was in Washington and Dallas. And he always put out outstanding offensive lines. He did a great job developing Trent Williams, who was one of these guys who, a little bit like Jed, like a ton of talent, but needed a lot of polish work. And he turned him into one of the great offensive linemen, left tackles of all time. And so I think, back to my story, when Andrew Berry called me and he was asking about Callahan, I'm like, absolutely, get that guy in here as soon as you can, because offensive line is one of the few positions that can actually really be molded the most by a coach. And you can take a guy who's, maybe middle of the pack, and with technique and assignment, you can really improve where he is as far as his value to his team more than almost any other position. The only other position that takes maybe more thinking is the quarterback position. But obviously arm talent is a huge part of that. So I think there's a reason that offensive line coaches get paid more than any other assistant on the staff. It's because they have more value. They bring more value to their position, and they can improve the performance of their position group more than anybody else.
Joe, a couple of rapid fire ones here. Every offensive lineman you've ever played with, who would, if every offensive lineman you ever played with, including yourself, all decided to be sumo wrestlers, who would be the champion? Who would be the ultimate champion?
Oh, my God. That's a great question. I would actually go with Alex Mack. He was a runner-up in heavyweight wrestling in the state of California, big state, I've heard. And so he was a great wrestler. He was also one of the most flexible guys I've ever played with, obviously big and strong in the hips and the legs. And I haven't really dissected the sumo sport all that much, but I feel like being big and powerful and fast and flexible and having a wrestling background would probably help a lot. And from what I've seen now, not all the sumo wrestlers are 500 pounds anymore. I've seen a few like small guys that kind of use quickness in the ring. So maybe a little Alex Mack action there as your sumo champ.
Who could drink the most beers in an hour?
Oh. Besides me?
Well, it could be you if it's
yeah.
you know,
So
you can
I would
yourself.
say, we're gonna have to go back a little bit and go to Hank Fraley.
Yeah,
he is now the offensive line coach for the Detroit Lions, and the man could knock him back pretty good. He went to Bobby Moe, Robert Morris out there in Pittsburgh, not a Big Ten university, but he had a Big Ten beer drinking background in him.
How about in a hot dog eating contest? Who would? Although it's always skinny guys. It's always skinny guys that win these
Yeah,
things.
it is.
But,
That's
who
right.
would eat the most hot
Kobayashi.
dogs?
Oh my gosh. This one's easy. Sean Laval. So he was a guard for us for a bunch of years.
Yeah.
Signed a nice deal in Washington. Big eater. Oh man, those Polynesians, they can really eat the rice. He would go and like every night we would go and have training table, and then we would go to this Euro place that was on the west side, kind of by like St. Ed's. I forget, a Greek. I think it was called like Greek Village or something like that.
Yeah.
And he would get like the impossible to eat Greek Euro challenge, and he'd go home and he'd just crush that. And then we'd go and get like Asian food, and he said he would have to eat like a huge plate of food to fall asleep every night. So this was like not dinner or like not snack. It was just like, you know, sometimes people take like ZMA pills or melatonin to fall asleep. He had to eat like a plate of rice and chicken to be able to fall asleep every night. So he was easily the biggest eater I was ever around.
All right, you're sitting on the plane next to offensive lineman X. Who is most likely to encroach on your personal space? Like, because his legs are too wide, he's sitting all on top of you.
Bob Wiley, I would say, good old Coach Wiley. He was the guy that if you're riding Southwest, you're hoping that he's not coming down with an empty seat next to you.
Oh, God.
I don't care what airline you're flying.
Bob Wiley, that was the best.
That's good.
Maybe Dubai Air, you're okay, but other than that, you're screwed.
Yeah, right.
Joe, what'd you think of calling the games, working in the booth? Do you see that in your future, and what was it like working with Chris and Aditi?
It was incredible working with Chris and Aditi. I've known Chris for a long time, had a chance to work with him a bunch at NFL Network, including the highlight of my media career. We did the post game for the last Super Bowl on the field. We got all the LA Rams to come on the set with us, which was really, really fun. And being a Cleveland guy, being a Browns fan through and through, it was an absolute joy and a blast to be able to work with him. Aditi is amazing. I've known her since my time in Cleveland when she would interview us and she would hang around the players post-game. And she was so good on the sideline. I think she's so engaging. She's so funny and witty. And she really got those players who, by and large, they don't want to be there. They don't want to be talking to any media during the game. But it's sort of their obligation. And she really got them to open up. So it was really a joy. And I think it really added to the broadcast. And me personally, I love doing those games. I really hope they ask me back next season. I'm constantly thinking about how I can improve, kind of helping the fans at home understand what's going on in the field and why the Browns are doing certain things, and kind of maybe giving my inside scoop into the roster development. So it was a lot of fun. I think preseason's a little bit unique because it's not as much about the game, where I think the thing that I do best is kind of explain the game and be dialed into like the back and forth of what's going on there. So it's a little bit more storytelling. It's a little bit more, back and forth with your play-by-play and your sideline person. But I hope we produced something that was interesting for Browns fans, and it kept them watching through the fourth quarter, which is not always the case during the preseason.
It was great.
Hey, Joe, have they figured it out at kicker with Cade York?
Yeah, I think he's all right. 70 yards is decent when you're booting 70-yard field goals in preseason warm-ups, and then you're going out there and hitting 50-yarders like it's a routine chip shot. I think we found our kicker.
It's taken a while. So as you look at the season, we parse the schedule, and we, obviously it feels like that first 4-game stretch is a great runway into what really turns into a juggernaut from weeks 5 through 11 before Jacoby finally gets back from the Texans. Have you thought about the schedule and where you expect this team to be when they finally get Watson on the football field?
Yeah, I've kind of played the schedule game just like all the fans. That's one of the joys of the offseason and preseason, especially now that we kind of know what Deshaun Watson's suspension is going to look like. It's fun because you look at that schedule, and like you said, out of the first 6 games, there's one game that you say, that's going to be really tough, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers, right, because of what they have at quarterback. But then when you keep going, obviously Baltimore, there's always going to be question marks with Lamar at quarterback because of how many hits he takes and the injuries that are inevitably going to pile up as his career goes on. Cincinnati, it's going to be a tough one, right? They're going to be a great team again, not only because of Joe Burrow and those receivers, but they've got a really good, underrated defense. And I think that's one of the things people forgot when the story was about Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow during the season. It was this defense full of guys that maybe didn't have the biggest names in the NFL, but were playing really, really good football, playing together, playing exactly the type of team defense you want. But then you go down to Miami. I like their chances there. Buffalo, that's going to be tough. Josh Allen, maybe the best player in the NFL right now. Tampa, Tom Brady looked pretty good in preseason, even after 11 games off or 11 days off in training camp and then back to Houston. So I think if they're at 6-5 or better, I think they make the playoffs. If they're under 500 in that situation, I think it's going to be pretty tough because once Jacoby comes back, you don't know how much rust he's going to have. I mean, at that point, it's almost been 2 years since he's played an NFL football game, and it's going to take him, I think, a little bit of time to be able to get on the same page with everybody. So I think 6-5, they make the playoffs. Under that, at that point, when Deshaun gets back, it's going to be pretty tough.
Very definitive answer. We like that.
Joe, have you, get back to you for a minute. Before I let you go here real quick, have you ever thought about coaching, or that's not on the purview at all?
Nah, no interest. I love to coach. I love to teach, but those poor guys have no life.
They work 28 hours a day.
It's nuts.
Dude, it's
I
crazy.
figured.
They're finding hours that don't even exist to work.
Yeah,
Thanks, Joe.
Hey, Joe, before we let you go,
Thanks,
I want to give you credit because you were the guy that gave the nickname to our producer, McNuggets, that stuck. He's been McNuggets
I love it.
ever since. So, Mike, do you want to say something to Joe as the guy that kind of dubbed the phrase?
Yeah, no, I owe Joe a big thank you in a way. I came to Cleveland. I was here for 3 weeks as just Mike, and now I walk the streets, my dating apps, I'm getting, are you McNuggets?
Yes.
All thanks to you.
Oh, man.
Using dating apps.
I don't know if you want me known on dating apps as McNuggets.
It's just a happy to
Dating
be your
app, bro.
wingman, McNuggets.
There we go. I win. That is now
That's it.
going on my voice.
Thanks,
command.
Joe.
Yeah, can you say that again with
right,
no
thanks,
other
guys.
audio traffic
Everyone be quiet,
so
yep.
he can clip this for his voicemail message?
Yo, McNuggets, I'm just happy to be your wingman. This is Joe Thomas, former Cleveland Brown, 10-time Pro Bowler.
It doesn't get any better than that. It does not get any better than that.
Let's do it, Joe, my man. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Joe.
The great Joe Thomas.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see
Joe,
you.
thanks.
Oh, man, he's
Good
on.
luck at the college
Have
club.
fun at Madison.
College
I know it's gonna be a
club.
good time.
I'll
College
text you when
club.
I get my first date off that, by the way.
College
I'll
club.
shoot you a text.
That was too good.
Oh,
So
man.
McNuggets, you can pay me later because
Yeah.
otherwise that's just a little clip that we're all talking
And here's
over.
the trade-off. I'll do his Hall of Fame speech in Canton next year. He just did that for me. I'll do his Hall of Fame speech. Me and Joe are on texting terms now, so,
I'm sure you're
I'll
in the
hit him up.
final 3.
By the way, I promised McNuggets not to give too many details, but Jay wasn't here for this. And was Brad here for when we did that? I can't remember. Who was here? No, it was not Brad.
What'd you do?
When we did the thing for with the girl, with the
Yeah.
interview?
Wait,
Which is
what
never
happened?
going to air, so why are you bringing it up?
Listen, we'll tell you off. We taped something. We attempted something last week as a Labor Day show.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
I thought it worked
we were
great.
thinking about we're thinking about maybe like get to know members of the team for
Right.
holiday shows,
Sure.
right? So I promise not to embarrass
No,
anybody.
no
I
details.
won't.
You can say
I
what
won't.
happened, but no
I won't.
details.
But
It's-
we were
it's
so
bad.
Mikey was like, I got 3 of my friends lined up, and we're gonna do like a 15-minute show. So it was me, Jason, Tyvis, and G, right?
Yeah.
And the first guest was a buddy of his. It was a total disaster. And then the second guest was a female friend of his, and I'll just leave it there.
Y'all made it really weird, and that's why we're not
It got
gonna get
quite
into it
awkward.
now. Y'all made it very weird.
It went off the rails quickly.
Weird
baby.
in a good way or weird in a really bad way?
Oh, in a really bad way.
Listen.
Judging by the tone of his, he's as red as the brick behind
He's so
him right
stressed.
now.
I gave no details. I didn't say her name, nothing.
There's a reason this will
Never air.
It's already erased. There's no more files of it.
Oh, you're kidding.
You should have just shown it to Jay.
It got awkward. Bull went past probably the level of like where you should cross.
Me?
There was a miscommunication.
You're blaming me?
No, I'm not blaming you. There was a miscommunication on a certain question.
I would blame J and G more than blaming me.
Jay asked a question that I think he was
Or
referring
Jason,
to basketball. It may have come off in a different way. It's a lost
What
file.
did you do?
It's a lost file. But we got to talk about
Is
the
this akin
Guardians.
to
Let's talk about the
He
Guardians.
couldn't catch.
Go to the next
I'm
subject.
sorry that the fans will never be able to see this
Next
because
subject.
it was crazy.
I want a
We'll
detailed
tell you
explanation
after.
after the
It got
show.
weird.
It did. It was awkward.
But let's talk a little Guardians now.
Yes.
I just spilled coffee all over my pants.
Guardians.
Terrible weekend
I
for the
spilled
Guardians.
coffee all over
See,
my pants.
was it terrible? Because before the series, before the road
I
trip,
would have signed for 3-3.
you said 3-3 is a win.
I know,
And
but I got greedy. They
I
had
wanted
won the first
4-2
two.
also, but yesterday was disappointing.
It was bad. It was a bad weekend because they scored 7 runs in those 4 games.
I know, and that's
They
the,
didn't
that's,
hit it whole
and you know
all
what?
weekend.
That's what's going to keep this team from making a deep playoff run if they even make the playoffs.
Well, and again, all season long, they've been whoop.
yeah.
I mean, it's been high highs and low lows.
Well, it's a young team.
Hopefully,
And
which you
that's what you
expect
get with young teams.
Hopefully, that will not. This will not turn into a long stretch of
Look,
bad
West
play.
Coast road trips are always the hardest. Even though this was only 6 games.
We knew that.
I'm saying take our
It's a tough
take our
homestand
wins
here
and get
too,
the hell
though.
home. It's a tough
Baltimore,
homestand, but
Seattle.
they've got Baltimore and Seattle. And well, here's what's good about this.
Yeah.
Baltimore right now is ahead of. You see the Guardians leading the division, but there's a 2-game lead, and they've got 5 with Minnesota in a row in September. I think I like the fact that it's Baltimore and Seattle because I think they're a game behind Baltimore in the wild card race, and they're a game and a half, I believe, behind the Mariners.
Yeah.
So these are teams that you want to play.
Well, if they win the division, they could very well end up playing the Mariners or the Orioles in the first round.
But I'm also looking at the wild card division, at the wild card race, just
Yes.
in case. Just in case.
Right, but
they
I'm saying
don't
there's
win the
2
division.
things. There's also, you may play this team in the playoffs.
Yes, you're right.
In the
You're
first
absolutely
round.
right. Yeah, you're right.
So, listen, the Mariners are a pretty good team. They're on the
a
West
really good
Coast,
team.
so we don't
No,
pay attention.
I think they're underrated.
They've got good pitching.
They're built
like the
like the-
Robbie Ray addition was big.
Big, huge.
You know, the Luis Castillo in-season acquisition was big. Logan Gilbert's become a nice pitcher.
They're built like the Guardians. Sound starting pitching and a terrific bullpen.
Did I see that Rodriguez got paid too?
Yeah.
He got a huge extension.
It's a crazy
I couldn't
contract.
believe they did that already.
Well, it goes back to the discussion we were having, guys.
That's when you got to lock these guys up now if you're not going to
sign
spend
them younger, and
12
younger
years?
and younger. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's not guaranteed 12 years.
It's really complicated. Some of the stuff I was reading, it depends on some of the MVP voting and option pickups of what becomes what.
Right. If this could end up being over $400 million, but it
could be like 18 years
It would
or
only
something
get that
insane.
high if he was great.
Right.
If he was great.
Well, that's more
could
of
be
a
the
pay
wave
for
of the future.
performance, and that's
Yeah.
the way contracts should be structured.
Yeah, to some
These
degree.
Well, he's
10-year deals
guaranteed
for
$100
guys.
million.
He's
regardless.
guaranteed a certain amount, but
and I'm okay for that. He should be. But I love the idea of, particularly in the later years of the contract. Like if you look at what's going on in Detroit, as much as I dislike the Tigers, I've felt sorry for them for the last 6 or 7 years, and it's only going to get worse next year if Miggy does indeed come back.
Yeah.
He's hamstrung them to the point where they're not even a Major League Baseball team.
I mean, they're so bad anyway. I don't know if that one contract alone kills them, but
it's a big number that they could spend on other talent.
Yeah.
And then they misspent this offseason.
Right.
And it cost
they
their
spent
general
on
manager
Baez,
a
and he
job.
was terrible this year. But
He hasn't worked out.
But, Jay, getting back to the Guardians, here's one real positive from what was overall a bad weekend. Quantrill pitched really well.
He did.
And I think he's clearly become their third best starter.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at him over the last couple of months, oddly enough, he's pitched his bad starts have all been against bad teams for whatever reason.
Maybe it's
his
focus.
in 3 of his last 5 starts, he's pitched shutouts, not 9-inning shutouts, but
Right.
whatever. 20 scoreless innings. I can't remember the 3 teams exactly, but it's 3 playoff teams. And he's had 2 bad starts against like the Tigers and some other lousy
Yeah, I
teams.
wonder if it's focus.
Very weird, but. Right now, my top 3 I feel good about. I think, Plesac will be your 4th guy. I like using a 4th starter. I don't like the idea with all Bieber injuries. I know they still got to make it, but if they make it, with Bieber's recent injury history, I don't like him going on short days rest. I certainly, with McKenzie's body size, I don't want him going on 3 days rest.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to have to use a 4th starter if he gets to it. I think it's going to have to be Plesac because Somali stinks. But anyway, that to me that was the positive. I feel like Quantrill, well, he's not obviously with Bieber and McKenzie, but I trust him a little bit at least.
I think for me the big concern is still the bats. I know they've had guys that have really increased their production.
Yeah.
But you've got to have more from catcher and center field.
Yeah, Miles Straw stinks.
Miles Straw, I got to tell you about Miles Straw. He started horribly. Then he had a stretch where he's like okay,
3 weeks.
Here he comes. Now, guys, he looks completely lost at home plate right now.
I don't get why they play him all. Like, at least a catcher, I get it. Okay, a catcher, he manages the pitchers, I get it.
Yeah.
At center field, like, I know he's a good fielder, but everybody that plays center field is a good fielder.
He's a great fielder, above average fielder.
Fine, but like there's plenty of above average fielders at center field. Yeah. You know, I mean,
you got to hit more than 200.
And unlike catcher, there's plenty of center fielders that can hit.
Yeah, it's a big.
Stephen Kwan could win a Gold Glove in left field this year.
Like, why not? Why did they set
the ball yesterday? Did he lose that in the sun?
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
I didn't see it yesterday.
So go to the positives. I know that we're off the West Coast trip. The positives are still 2 games up.
Yeah.
Nowhere near did we ever think that the Guardians would
be
in this
No, but you know what? Like to Bull's point, when they were 4 up, I thought, wow, they could come home 6 up.
This is a team where I wouldn't say they were getting 6 up. Here's a team that's played up and down,
all year. Just keep those bad streaks short.
This is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So
and if this is their bad streak, we can live with that.
We're playing in short tranches here.
Yeah.
The next series here, Baltimore. Let's go get this, right? You can't look down the line. This is not that kind of team.
No, you can't.
It's not built like that.
7 days to me will determine this division. September 15th to the 22nd.
That's when they play the Twins for 5.
They got the Twins for 5, and they got the White Sox in there too.
Yeah.
That week is really.
So you have to be in the hunt here till then, right?
Yeah. They'll be in the hunt. I mean, they're
no, here we're up 2 here. You got that 2-3 level. If you can stay at that level here, you get us to September 15th. Now we got a ball game.
Yeah. But you're right. That is the week that will matter. That will define who wins the division.
They got, I would like to see the Guardians go to the minor leagues. The roster's expanded to 28.
It does.
You got Naylor down in the catcher. You got this kid Brennan, who's just been killing it in AAA.
I would like to see them get some at bats.
Bring him up, I don't know why they sent Nolan Jones down. I know he cooled off.
He's really cooled off.
I know that,
but they want to play Nolan at first base.
Well,
because Oscar Gonzalez has played so well in right field.
Yeah, but let's play one of them in left, move Quan to center, and get Straw out of the lineup.
That's why I mentioned
I'd be all for that.
That's why I mentioned Quan. I don't think they're going to do that this year. They've already paid Miles.
Yeah, they're on the hook for him now.
So I don't know.
But you don't start him just because you paid him. I mean, he's on the team, fine.
I don't know, when you're the Guardians,
pay him that much.
You're the Guardians,
from the day they've acquired Miles Straw, Tito's talked about what an elite center fielder
he is. Oh my God, you have 2 zeros in your lineup every game.
I know.
And why? By the way, why is Jimenez batting 7th in that game yesterday?
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Why is he batting so low in the lineup? I don't understand.
I like him much higher. I don't know what he's doing down there either, unless you're trying to add some punch to the bottom of the lineup, which we've seen teams do before.
I don't take listen. He's been their second best player, yes, behind Ramirez.
I think unquestionably.
Yes.
So how am I batting my second best player 7th?
I don't like it either.
I don't understand that.
I don't know if Tito was asked about it after the game.
And he's been hitting them low like 6 a lot. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I know some managers like to have some punch in the bottom of the lineup. When you're offensively challenged like the Guardians are, if you get through their first 4 or 5, now all of a sudden the pitcher's in cruise control for an inning and a half.
Right. Yeah.
So if you do stick a bat down there at 6 or 7, my problem with that is he has limited opportunities to drive in runs, typically. And so he does get a hit. Who behind him is going to knock him in?
Right.
And when they get past 7, there's nothing happening.
And think about it from this perspective: if you hit him 2nd or 3rd or whatever, and hit Ramirez 4th, or how many at bats are you costing him? How many plate appearances he's being
over a
costed?
game? If you're probably instead of the front half to the bottom half.
Yeah.
Plate and a half a game.
You're looking at
on average
probably 200 at bats for the year.
I mean, it adds up. I don't understand that.
Especially if you got a contract, got incentives in it, it adds up.
And Straw's contract isn't that big. It's not like he's making a ton of money.
For the Guardians, it's huge.
It's not that big.
He's probably the
I think he's around $5 million.
Second or third highest paid player on the team.
I think he's around $5 million, $4 or $5 million a year, and maybe this is an issue for next year if Quan can slide into center. But I don't know if you want to mess with the Gold Glover and left if he's really. I mean, he could win it. He's been terrific.
Yeah, he has been very, very good. Very good. And, it is a different position, but I think he I think he could handle it from what I've seen.
I think he can handle it, but he's not going to be the elite level that
Probably
Straw making $3 million. He's not making much this year. $3 million next, then $5 million, then $6.5 million, then $7.5 million. Oof, God.
And for the Guardians, it's a lot of money.
And then there's 2 options after that, which obviously at this point you think they'll decline.
Kiss those goodbye.
Yeah.
You got to hit more than 200 at a big league level. You just, especially if you're a center fielder, even a catcher. But
in the grand scheme of things, yes, even though a bad weekend, still a lot more good than bad when it comes to the Guardians.
Yeah, I think so. And they got out of it with a split. You come home from a West Coast road trip, even if you're in a pennant race and you split, I think you take that.
And I think the Orioles are coming back to earth, and their pitching is not very good, so hopefully
they get fat on the Orioles. You want to do good bet, bad bet?
It is time to do good bet, bad bet, and we had a big moving day on Friday.
Ooh.
Adam the Bull, 3-0. Standings here.
Damn.
That's about it. I've just
Not only did Bull go 3-0, and let's take the standings.
I took it on the chin Friday.
Jay went 1-2, Brad went 1-2, Tyvis went 0-3. So Tyvis loses his percentage lead, and Bull takes a commanding lead.
Wow, 2 percentage points better now.
8
with just a couple.
with 8 games left. Only 8 games left.
Myself back to 500.
8 days left.
You watch who's coming up on the rear here.
Yeah, but there's 24 picks in there. So
24 picks left. That's it.
I go 17-7, and you go 7-17, and I'm right in there.
There you go.
So
Gee,
let's
barely
get.
over
Wait,
500.
can you go back to that graphic real quick?
Yo, punch it up. Let's pull the standings back up.
I wanted to see where Polk was because is he still
He's
hitting?
at 65%, so he's back in the percentage.
Oh,
lead.
that's a great cat picture of him. Look at that picture.
So hey, listen, no, Jay, you know what?
It is Mike's fault, apparently.
We addressed it on the show last week.
Yeah.
I have texted Polk twice now for the cat picture. He has not sent us the cat picture.
We have the cat picture.
The email got flushed after the first month.
Oh, it
so we need Polk to resend us the picture, and we will put it in.
You know what? We have it. I think we have it on our website at KYC at some point.
His response last week when I called him out for it on air, he goes, "Yeah, frankly, I saw your text and said it's not that important." So
wow,
I know it hurt.
Wow,
it hurt. Bo was there, Jay was there. They all heard.
That
it.
does sting, man.
It hurt.
That
so
sting.
when we get the cat picture, we will put it in there. But it is on Polk's plate right now.
All right, very good.
All right, here we go.
Picture. All right, first game today. No Guardians.
I hated
no
these
football.
picks today too, by the way. It took me 4 seconds to make them.
Yeah. First one, Red Sox getting a 1.5 at the Twins.
Yeah.
And you guys all kind of split. We had 2 goods and a bad.
I just
Brad
have
was
to be
bad.
different from Bull.
Bull and Jay were good. Bull and Jay were good.
We don't have a
We
graphic.
got no graphic?
We have a graphic for the next 2.
Okay.
Let's take the next one.
All right.
How about this? Dodgers, first time all year I've seen.
Budgetary
2.5.
reasons.
2.5 they were getting at the mark. I haven't seen a 2.5 run line
Yeah,
all
you almost
season.
never see that spread.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never laying 2.5 runs in baseball.
That's a lot.
Ever.
But I knew you weren't going to.
Yeah.
I knew you weren't going
So
to.
you took the Dodgers.
So I have to make up ground. So I took
He
the
did.
Dodgers.
You guys did split. We had Jay and Brad were good. Bo was bad there.
Yeah.
And finally, our last
Yeah,
one.
by the way, the guy pitcher for the Dodgers, I usually ignore pitcher wins because it's such an arbitrary stat. It's really
Right.
meaningless. But it's Tony Gonsolin of the Dodgers is like 16-1.
Yeah, I'm not
which is
ignoring
absurd.
That. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of those might be vulture wins.
Yeah,
or
but he's
whatever.
pitched great.
But 16-1, I'm taking that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
He also leads the NL in ERA and another stat. I saw it was crazy.
Yeah,
Dude's
he's had a
unbelievable this
magnificent
for
year,
someone who
yeah.
I've never heard of.
And thus the 2.5 run line and
Yeah.
the Marlins.
Heard of him.
And the last game, over 8.5 runs in the Yankees-Angels game.
Why would you put the Yankee logo on there and not the Angel logo? That's obnoxious.
Talk to Anthony.
Anthony, this ain't New York. I mean, what the hell?
Well, where's our picks though? Like the graphic that shows
listen,
our
the
picks.
issue with the picks is when it's not the normal panel. It's the templates are not as easy to move around.
Oh, I got it.
And JC doesn't pick, and G didn't send in picks today, so to swap it, we only got 3 picks today.
Guys
so.
are slackers.
So
We're gonna
Anthony
get
was basically like, you know what? Throw a
He nailed
Yankees
it in.
logo on there.
He
and let's
nailed
put
it
down.
So wait,
I got you, eh?
I thought this was going to the end of the year. Are you guys finishing this?
No,
We're
so
finishing it Wednesday.
we're going to start with football season. We're going to start clean the slate.
Right.
Okay.
This
All
has
right.
been our preseason, 4 months long.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah, that's
enough.
I've dominated, and we'll move it along.
Dominating 2 percentage points ahead of you, Bull.
Hey, real quick, just
You have been really good though.
some Browns cuts are coming in.
Oh, boy.
Nothing of
No name
surprises.
that would make you go, wow.
Williams and
You should
Jamarcus
name
Bradley,
like 10
receiver.
guys, see if
Hold
we
on,
know
hold
they're
on,
a real
hold on,
player or
hold
not.
on. Who got cut? Tell me.
Not Anthony Schwartz. Receivers cut Williams and Jamarcus Bradley.
Ah!
Defensive tackle Glenn
I kind of
Logan.
like Wims.
Williams did okay.
I kind of liked him.
today.
Ben
Yeah.
Petrula, Curtis Weaver, Javante Moffitt, and Chris Odom to IR.
Okay, now that gets us to, do we know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's 10 guys? So they're down to 70.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was 7 names there.
Okay, so it's down to 73.
They're down to 73. They need to get to 53.
Because they got to
21,
80
you get
before
what,
the game.
5 for the practice roster, or
Was it
did that
53
expand this year?
53 by tomorrow?
The practice squad is 12, but you got to cut guys first and then try to bring them back to
Yeah,
practice.
so they're available to everybody once you cut them.
Yeah.
It's 53 tomorrow, correct?
By 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna make some predictions tomorrow. Don't worry. We're gonna make some predictions.
There's going to be some names
There's
that are
gonna
on
be-
there
there's always some
that make
names
us
that-
go, wow.
Williams played okay on
I
Saturday.
liked Wims.
Yes.
I knew he wasn't going to make the team, but I did like him. You know, I'm nervous about the wide receivers way more than anybody
Is
else.
there? I mean,
Oh, we got the cat pictures.
oh, we did. Is it?
It will be added tomorrow. The cap will be added tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Am I crazy to think David Njoku could be the leading receiver on this team?
No, not at all.
At least through week 12.
After seeing what Brissett wants, we know he likes those quick little.
I'm really thinking more and more David Njoku.
I
could be
still
the
think
leading
it'll be
receiver on this
Cooper,
team.
but it's not. I guess it's not crazy.
I think David Bell will be the second leading receiver behind Amari Cooper. I think David will be second among the receivers.
You'd expect that to
in
be the
catches.
case.
Yeah, but I
think Njoku's going to get
could be
a lot of work.
he
Like
could be
Kareem
the
Hunt
team
could be
leader.
the leading receiver if they use him right.
He might be.
Let's get to top 5 real quick because
Yeah.
it leads us to a special promo we got to get to next week. Today's top 5 are the 5 college football games we're looking most forward to this weekend.
I know number 1.
We had week 0. It is now officially time for week 1. We got a pretty good slate of week 1 matchups, including number 5 here. 2 teams with big brand names haven't been great lately, but Brian Kelly knew at LSU. But Florida State at LSU, two primetime Power 5 teams.
That's a good one.
Going
Florida State still got a football team?
They
Yeah,
won
they
this
better
week.
go.
They crushed Duquesne.
That doesn't
Wow.
count.
I mean, you know what happened.
Did you guys see the picture of the Duquesne player on the bench? It was trending on social. He had his pants pulled up to his nipples. I don't know. I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. I'll see if I can find it again.
On
Anthony's
purpose?
on it. Well, if we get it, we'll tag board it. We'll get
Yeah,
to that.
it was the slug on it was, what in the world is going on at Duquesne football? It is the most bizarre football picture you'll ever see.
Did you hear the story about what's his name, Scott Frost at Nebraska talking about how they were pumped because they made their offensive linemen throw up the whole training camp?
No.
It was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it was weird.
That's not
Very
good
weird.
to make guys throw up.
Scott Frost is not.
And the Northwestern offensive line coach, after Northwestern beat Nebraska Saturday in Ireland, which was really cool.
Yeah,
it made me
nice.
want to go to Ireland.
That was nice.
But the Northwestern offensive line coach was like
What in the world?
I know. I'm going to send
taking
this.
shots at
DM it
them.
to Anthony. DM it to Anthony.
Let me see it.
We'll put it on
I
screen.
want you to see it on
You lose
camera.
a bet?
I just sent it to you because I don't have
All
his
right.
Instagram. It was sent to me on Instagram.
I'm on it. Give us 1
All
second.
right. It's just really funny.
It's like an 80-year-old man walking through
All right, so here.
Aldi's.
Scott Frost will not be in Nebraska.
He's a
long.
clown.
No, he's
So,
not long for
Nebraska,
this world.
I'm going to give you a word of advice here. It's a shame what's happening to Nebraska football.
It really is because they were
shame.
a powerhouse.
So you need go get my man Urban Meyer. Give him a job, right? Let him rebuild this thing. 'cause
You know what? I don't
it-
know that they'll ever be what they were.
won't.
Because for a lot of reasons, but chief among them, it's in Nebraska.
Well, that's why you need somebody that can extend boundaries here. Because they've been going back getting people that used to be at Nebraska. This is not going to work
you
anymore.
want them to hire Urban Meyer,
Well,
huh?
here, I don't want to see Nebraska football look like that. It's awful.
No, I know. We need
It's
them to be better
awful.
than that.
Ohio State's become the anomaly. What other cold weather schools are powers in
You're
college
right.
football
I mean,
anymore?
Michigan and Notre Dame.
And
get
Michigan,
sneaky-
a few years ago, I thought Michigan was
we thought
teetering
they were
toward
done.
Nebraska.
We did. We thought they were done.
And Notre Dame, I mean,
What happened to Ohio State?
They're always
Ohio
overrated.
State-
absolutely.
Always, every
Ohio
year.
State went and got somebody that had been in another region, and we started bringing in players from other regions. So Ohio State used to get all Ohio people. That's all we used to do.
Yeah.
Now we
You gotta
started with
recruit
West
Florida
Coast
and Texas,
guys,
particularly
Florida,
at skill.
Texas
California.
guys.
Oh, my
Video,
God.
by the way.
What the hell am I looking at?
What is going on there?
I've never seen anything
That guy
like
can't be really a player, is he?
it. You know, I thought it was computer generated. I thought there's no way that's real.
What is
But
going
that
on
really
there?
happened. That dude's pants are jacked up to his
Man.
armpits.
By the way, speaking of Ohio State, Mikey McNuggets, we have a special edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports
And
Show
we're gonna
this
get to
Friday.
that. We got to finish the top 5 first.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
Come on, don't ruin the surprise.
I'm trying to
It's not
promo you
really a
there. Go
surprise.
ahead. Number
All right,
4.
well, let's finish the top 5. We got off track here with
Rapid
Scott
fire.
Frost
Let's
and
go.
Nebraska.
Rapid-
No one cares
rapid
about
fire.
Nebraska.
Rapid
Let's go to
fire.
number 4 here.
Control the
How about
set,
a ranked matchup between Cincinnati and Arkansas?
Don't care.
Stop. Keep going.
Don't care.
Well, before you dismiss it completely,
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what Cincinnati does turning the page.
But is Arkansas?
Luke Fickell's done a great job with the program.
play
And what does he have
Arkansas.
now that they're Well,
Arkansas is going to be good this year.
Arkansas is also
Really?
Only people think Arkansas is
You know
going to
who
be good
Luke
are the
Fickell's
people
getting?
that live in
Luke Fickell's
Arkansas.
getting all the guys Ohio State used to get
That's
before
right.
they became a national power.
Yep.
All the
By the way, Jason's taking the family on vacation to Arkansas next year.
and we were driving through. Number three, Alabama.
Number three.
We weren't going on vacation in Alabama.
Go to number 3, Mikey.
We were
Number
literally
three, how
driving
about
through
the backyard
Tuscaloosa.
brawl, always a fun matchup.
Yeah, that is.
We get
Now
West
that's
Virginia,
nice.
Hey,
Pittsburgh.
is that Thursday?
It's Thursday.
Yeah,
That's
right.
Desmond Howard picked Pitt to make the college
Yeah,
football
Desmond
playoff.
Howard also picked Michigan to make it to the finals
And
this year.
A&M to win the whole thing. which
I
is
love
absurd.
Desmond. I really do. But
Absurd.
Desmond, just stop it. Just stop it. Because I mean, is he? I don't know what that
I
pick
don't
was
know.
about.
He's a little wackadoodle. I don't know.
Yeah.
We
Cleveland
got
guy,
two
too.
more.
I hate to see
and
it.
we know what number 1 is, but this
Yeah.
and any other year would be the best game of any week 1.
Oh,
of the
yeah,
preseason.
great game.
Take it. Georgia, Oregon.
That's a really good game.
Yeah,
number
that's a
3
big one.
versus number 11, and we'll cut right to
not
number
bad.
1. We
Well,
we know
Georgia's
what
a
it
big
is.
favorite.
Notre Dame at Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
Top 5 matchup.
Is it? The Buckeyes are like a 17-point favorite.
It shows you.
17.5
And Notre
point
Dame's number 5 in the country.
Which
They're
is a
always
joke.
overrated.
That's a joke.
They're always overranked
Yes.
at the beginning of the season.
They are.
But it shows you that, like, beyond, like, you got Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, and everybody else is a drop-off.
Yeah.
Because Ohio State and Georgia are playing highly ranked teams, and they're both huge favorites. Georgia's a big favorite over Oregon, too.
They are.
Yeah.
And that brings us to what Bo was alluding to earlier. Let's take it full, Mike. We have a full Buckeye Notre Dame preview show on Friday with 4 elite guests. Well, 3.5.
Oh, really, a
Considering
Buckeye season preview, right?
It's a season preview, but really focusing on the game. We're going to do a post-game show as well. We got Maurice Claret, Robert Smith,
Why is
Tyvis
Eddie George
Powell.
not on that list? We need Eddie George on that show.
If you can figure out how to get Eddie George, we're in. But
All right.
we're pretty stacked with
We
that.
are.
That
Paul
list. And then
Keels,
Paul
the voice
Keels,
of the Buckeyes.
The voice of the Buckeyes.
Keels.
Our show on Friday, just so everyone knows, our show on Friday will be dedicated to 99.9% Buckeyes.
It's
We'll
the perfect time to
with
do
the
it with
Browns.
no NFL games.
Exactly. So we're going to test it out. We're going to do it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and it's going to be a blast. With those 4 guests, how could it be bad, though, honestly?
No, that's
How can you go wrong with the Buckeyes? You just
Yeah,
can't.
no, you can't.
No,
you can't. I expect big numbers from Franklin County for that show. Big
Stand up
numbers.
Columbus.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, final takes.
Final takes. All right, guys. I texted Mikey and Anthony when this happened.
Thank goodness you're okay, by the way.
My life flashed before my eyes Saturday as I literally came very close to dying, I think. And I'm not joking. Usually I'm setting this up for a joke, but this is not a joke. Here I got to speak to whoever the moron is that was driving that Penske truck that cut in front of me and made a crazy U-turn. So I went out early to
Sounds
get
like me, but I don't
to
drive
get
a Penske
bagels
truck.
in downtown Cleveland. I'm driving back from Cleveland to Rocky River. I decided to go through the Shoreway and take Lake Road through Lakewood and maybe get some cold cuts along the way. So I'm driving up Lake Road. The speed limit's 35. I'm going a little over the speed limit, but not significantly. I think I was cruise controlling it at 40. All of a sudden, half a block away, this guy driving a Penske truck makes a left turn in front of me, and I'm like, okay, I don't got to worry about it. He's going to keep going. We'll be fine. Then he makes a U-turn and stops, blocking the whole road. I had to grab the wheels hard to the left and drive down the street, and I was lucky there were no cars coming. You almost killed me, you idiot. You know who you are because you're probably a sports fan. You should be ashamed of yourself. Send me money. That's it.
Oh, man.
Almost killing
When
me.
you said cold cuts, you know, it remind me of
Love cold cuts.
the running back from Cincinnati did the commercial with the cold cuts.
Icky Woods.
Icky Woods.
The Icky Shuffle.
Gotta get some cold cuts. Gotta get some cold cuts.
Gonna get some cold cuts today. Icky. He's
Good.
All right, so here, let me just jump in here, my man Bull, because I'm glad my man was taken out. He's okay. Let's go to this. Okay. Everybody just stop panicking. Saturday, everybody leading up to the game time, all you heard on the radio was, Jacoby Brissett is, we don't know what we're going to get here. Relax. Everybody calm down here. Relax. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad, right? Let's see what we have here coming up here. The Browns faithful, just believe in this. I don't care about what your 1-8, 22 record was. That means nothing to me. We need to get off to a great start. And Carolina's where it's going to happen at. If we're going to turn the tides, watch the other years behind you. just focus in on 60 minutes of football in Carolina. And I'm so tired. Let me tell you what I'm tired of. I'm tired of hearing about how Baker Mayfield has a chip on his shoulder. I'm tired of that. And everybody on the Browns 53 roster should be tired of it too. We come to see you. You're going to get a trip. We're going to give a chance to show you exactly what we think here. Because it's not about Baker Mayfield. It's not about anything else. It's about the Browns and their season. And if you want to get off to a great season, you get off to a great start. So everybody in that locker room, from Stefanski to the general manager, the owner, to the players, focus in on 60 minutes of football in Carolina, because that's where the season begins.
Jason.
Baseball announced today that the minor leagues are going to try and unionize, and it couldn't be coming at a better time. I don't think people realize when you think of playing professional baseball and you think of the lavish salaries that these guys make, that does not apply to minor leaguers. These guys aren't even earning a living wage. These are some numbers from just a couple of years ago. AAA players in their first year were making $21.50 a month. AA guys were making $1,700 a month. High A, Class A guys around $1,100 to $1,500 a month. Listen, I'm not asking for these guys to make the type of money that you make in Major League Baseball, but at least give them a living wage. And then you talk about the expenses that come out on top of it. It's a real issue. It needs to be addressed. Obviously, part of the benefit of minor league baseball is how affordable it is for families. I live in Lorain County. We can take our kids to see the Lake Erie Crushers for, pennies compared to what it takes to go to a Guardians game. And the trickle-down effect is the players don't make, that much money. And that's an independent game that I'm not even talking about, affiliated ball. But there has to be some sort of agreement here where these guys can at least make a living wage to the point where they can support themselves during the regular season. I just wanted to bring light to it today. It was a good sign to see them start the process of trying to unionize, and hopefully that will mean better working conditions for some of these minor leaguers who probably don't have major league careers ahead of them, and they're just trying to hold on and play this game for a few more years.
Couldn't agree more. Most of them make below minimum wage.
Yeah, it's awful. If you crank
below
out
minimum wage,
if you crank out the hours that they're putting in,
it's unreal.
Real quick, raising their salaries should not raise the prices, because the individual teams don't pay those players. It's the major league organization.
You're right.
So
with the exception of the independent.
right?
So
Yes, sure.
So all,
sure.
all I'll say to the affiliated teams, where is the Major League Players Union at?
They don't
Because
care.
They're getting
They
they're
haven't
putting
cared
this
up
together.
until now. They
Yes.
haven't cared until now.
They're
that is
doing
the
this.
problem.
Yeah, they wanted
Yes, they're
theirs
doing it
at
now.
the
That is the
expense
problem.
of all the minor
Right,
leaguers.
that is the problem. And the same road they used to travel.
Yes. Without the minor leagues, none of those guys have a chance to get there either. All right, let's talk about something that's off most sports fans' radar, but it shouldn't be. We talk about football and baseball and basketball, but there's something happening tonight in New York that sports fans, if you call yourself a sports fan, you should pay attention to it. Serena Williams, at the age of 40,
41,
is going to begin her last professional tournament as a singles player. I think there's very little doubt that she'll continue with her sister Venus and play doubles matches in tournaments. But for now, this marks the end of perhaps one of the most dominant runs by a professional athlete in any sport. Notice I didn't say female. Notice I didn't say tennis. If you look at what Serena Williams has done over the body of her career and for the length of time for which she's done it, you can make a strong case that she has been one of the most dominant athletes in their sport ever. It's incredible what she's done. She's won 23 major championships, which is the most in the Open era. It's just one behind, I think, Margaret Court, who won 24, but that was a much different era, much different time, much different competition. Serena takes center court tonight at 7 o'clock. Right. You don't know when it's going to be her last match, because if she were to be upset, this would be it. So do yourself a favor. Peek in on it. It's the end of a terrific career. We wish her all the best. And I wouldn't put past Serena Williams winning the Open Championship. She loves playing there. I believe she's won it 5 or 6 times. And what a way to write your final chapter if she could somehow pull that off. So Serena, go get them. And if you're a sports fan, do yourself a favor. I think it starts at 7 o'clock. Just tune in just for a little bit. You never know when that magic is going to be gone.
Great call, Jeff.
Good luck to her.
Hope she
Great
wins.
call.
Yeah, I do too. I'm pulling for, man.
Yeah.
What a great sports story that would be.
Yeah.
I could see the SB career lifetime achievement speech right now. She's just done incredible things for her sport. Power.
Yeah, amazing.
She's just a total power game. All right, Nuggets, what do we got tomorrow?
We got a DD tomorrow.
Okay.
And I do have one little programming note. You mentioned Jay Feely earlier on the show.
Yes, Jay Feely.
Well, we booked him in the last 20 minutes. He's coming on next Tuesday.
I texted him and he's like, I
Yeah.
said, can you come on in the next 2 weeks? He's like, of course.
So he's in next Tuesday.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he's doing he'll be the special teams correspondent for the Browns Panthers game. So we'll get to talk to him about Cade York, and hopefully he and Aditi can be on together. That's my hope.
We'll try to cross him over.
Yeah, or near one, because they'll be on the CBS broadcast team for the opening game. Jay's very knowledgeable on not just kicking but all sports. There was a period of time when he was one of the chief fill-in guys on First Take whenever Skip or Stephen A. or Woody would be out. Jay would come in, and he always held his own. He knows all sports, but he'll do a great job for us. All right, we're on a 22-hour break. We're back tomorrow as we continue to get ready for the regular season in the NFL, and also, as McNugget said, on Friday of this week, we're going to change it up a little bit and just do all Ohio State preview. A big line of guests. We hope you join us then. But in the meantime, we'll see you tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.